The game starts with a monologue.
I see hatred and fear in their eyes, as if I was responsible for spreading the disease, as if I was the source of all the misery plague in this land. I have nowhere to hide from them, nowhere to run. The woods have closed us off from the outside world. We are all doomed.
Shortly after, our protagonist wakes up and we can take a look around, finding some medical notes, an empty notebook, and some unknown pills. As we step outside the little office, our attention is caught by some cages stained with blood.
This time, they are empty.
It's weird, very weird, but what makes it even weirder are this noise and a couple of objects. The first one is a medical bag, simply described as old and useless. The second is found inside a table, and it's a sort of cutlery roll.
My tools, they haven't been sterilized in years. The local patients can be helped anyway.
As for the noise, it comes from behind this door, but we can't access it. Highline Man actively refuses to open it because he spent too much time locking someone in there. Okay, let's connect some dots here because honestly I am already getting confused. Judging by our findings, we can tell that our protagonist is, or at least was, some sort of healthcare professional. In the intro is also revealed that some sort of plague is ravaging around, and given the state of the house, we can tell that our protagonist hasn't left it in a long time. Mushrooms are growing from out of the floor, glass bottles are thrown everywhere. In the bedroom we find some sheets thrown on the ground and used as sort of bed, and a small radio that apparently has been silent for years. Now, every one of us knows, especially due to recent events, how diseases can often cause forced isolation, but what sort of pathogen could force a doctor to hide in his own house and use cages as traps while keeping someone locked up? But before we answer all the questions in the universe, Doc reminds himself that he needs more dinosaur juice for the generator. The outside of the habitation isn't any better. At the entrance there's a beautiful Fiat 125 and not far from it, a hurt dog. Doc suggests to put an end to his suffering with a nearby axe, which can also be used to destroy a tree blocking the path, but after destroying it, we get a strange reaction.
The trees are growing too rapidly. Soon I won't be able to cut them fast enough.
Strangeness that only gets further fueled once we get to a road overgrown with vegetation.
The woods have devoured all roads that connected us to the outside world. No one is able to pass through this thicket.
And what it means by that is for now unknown, and honestly not even important when compared to what we find in a dark area of the path. It's an abandoned house, and what's staggering about it isn't the complete absence of crackheads, but instead what can be seen in the back garden. Protruding from a tree, we see a man, as if he was an integral part of the plant.
In a few days, it will be completely absorbed.
On its right, kinda splashed on the ground, we also see a pale white human deer creature. But aside these eldritch nightmares, there's nothing else to see, so we push further in the darkness looking for petrol. Until we get to a sunny clearing. And it is right in this patch of grass where Doc finds someone, or rather something. Something that will not only cast another layer of mystery to this already contorted game, but also start its story. A man, visibly hurt, lies unconscious.
I think this one is still alive.
In his pockets, we only find a big metal key. Its description reads,
"If there is an exit out of these woods, this key will surely open it."
It's obvious. Something really strange is happening. Strange and dangerous. Trees grow so thick that they become literal walls and people get absorbed into them. Or worse. And a human facing such conditions will do everything he can to survive, or even better, escape. That's why our protagonist takes the man back home, not to help him though, but to extract every piece of information he can with whatever possible means. It's not clear for how long Doc questioned the unknown man, but after a while and an unbelievably strong punch, he lives.
The fucker stole my game.
Plot twist! Doc wasn't the protagonist at all! First run, I was genuinely flabbergasted, so good job, Acid Reader. Now give me some of that shit! We are terribly hurt and locked in the storage room. Thankfully, we find a couple of rugs and pieces of metal. Now please follow me, because here is where the game introduces the player to its incredibly complicated crafting system. You got the materials? Good! Now click on the object and you got it. You don't have the necessary ingredients? Well, fuck off then. After using the bandages, we take a look at the biggest apartment in London. The door is reinforced, which makes it impossible to open. As for the container, well, it can be unlocked with the lockpick you just made. Inside we find a shovel and a flashlight. And since the door couldn't be normally opened, it's time to smash it.
Outside of the room.
There he is! The quack doctor!
He's gone.
The prisoner is still being held captive, but we need a code to free him. While looking for it, we end up in the bedroom. The small unitary radio still plays static, but unlike before, we can explore the confining space. The generator is completely dry. Providentially, we find the fuel and a sturdy table leg in a nearby chest. It seems that things are starting to take a turn into the right direction. I mean, we got some light. That is, until we get out of this room, just to discover what could be described as a nightmare at best, or a mere shadows of what we are about to face at worst. Because what we find in that room, instead of the small radio, is a man, seemingly still alive, with two dials wedged in his eyes. Despite the terrible sight, what chills our blood is hearing a number from the creature. Taking our chances, we try our luck with the door, and it works. How did that amalgamation of meat and radio parts know about the code? Unfortunately, we don't have time to think about that because another bold man starts to attack us. Unfortunately, there's nothing that can be done except destroying his ass. After defeating him, we find a plastic chick in his pocket. And even though the game refers to him as that man, he warned us.
And how do you get out now? You think you can manage? All by yourself? Hear it?
Soon after, something starts breaking into the house, tearing down its defenses, and despite our prayers, we seemingly fall victim of it. It's not clear what happened. The only sure thing is, someone saved us. We are now in a semi-destroyed house. Our pockets are empty, except for a journal. All pages preceding the kidnapping were torn away, from which only a couple of sentences remained.
Into these damn savages. Everything should go smoothly.
Right after we find our first entry, dated 12 September 1987.
I don't remember anything since the attack on our camp. Somehow now I'm wearing a coat, so I must have changed my clothes on my way here. I don't recognize myself anymore. I can barely hold this pencil. Has my body changed? I no longer feel hunger or thirst. What has happened to me?
So that's how Darkwood Man ended up in this clearing. At a certain point in time, his group got attacked. But what sort of group was? Because not many fellows would love to camp in a seemingly deadly and plague-infested forest, and even fewer of them would be in possession of the key to get out of it. So why? Why were they still here?
We don't know. The only thing of our knowledge are, one, that our body is changing, probably due to the plague or the injections Doc forced on us, or both. And second, Doc has stole the key for the only way out, and we better hurry finding him. If we want more answers, we gotta start looking around.
Some walls are on the verge of collapse, while other, well, already did. Basically, a total wreck of a house. If it wasn't for an object, perhaps the single most important one in the entire game. The oven.
A pleasant warmth is emanating from the oven.
I can sense a strange yet familiar scent. It's the protective substance. As long as I remain inside my doubt, I may have a chance of surviving the night. What did he mean by that? Perhaps the weird bottle full of Shrek scum explains it better. Staying out of the reach of the protective substance after nightfall will result in immediate death 99 out of 100 cases. Fair enough. And if we continue to read this wacky description, we also discover that Darkwood Man and his old and presumably that group weren't from this area.
This cottage must have been one of our old hideouts. The inhabitants of these woods don't need to inhale this revolting gas.
And with that cleared out, we can finally chill, put up some Netflix, cook some, I don't know, instant ramen. Let's see what Darkwood Man thinks about it.
I haven't felt any hunger or thirst since the accident a few days ago, but I can't stop thinking about those red pulsating mushrooms. They look so tasty. Maybe this spot will prove useful after all.
And so, he logically pulls out a syringe.
Oh my fucking god, you kidding me? Oh my god, kick my grandma in the fucking ankle, sucker punch my stepdaddy in the chin.
Cooking things is how you unlock new skills and other stuff that we will soon see, because unfortunately we haven't found enough cookable hemorrhoids yet. But at least, in between the wardrobes and apparently useless materials, we also find something else, a picture. The road home. Our destination. It's beautiful, isn't it? It's like I can hear a faint noise when I watch it. Okay then. Well, we got everything of interest. Time to get moving. The grass bends under our feet and the wind whistles while passing between the tree branches. Everything looks normal, almost fine. But just like in the prologue, the signs that something horrible is happening don't wait to show themselves. In the back of our garden there's a little shed containing the generator and a weirdly deformed body. Next to him, we find a note.
Turn on the generator before dark. Hiding in the shadows won't do you any good. They are coming either way.
Light, good. Darkness, bad. Got it! It also got some fuel in it, so we can explore the surroundings without much worrying. But where do we start? Every direction looks the exact same. But thankfully, these developers knew the difference between a hard and an unfair game. So, we do get a map. But hold on, because it is not as easy as you think it is. Because here, our location, it's only displayed when we are nearby a landmark. As you can see right now, our hideout is highlighted because Darkwood Man is standing right beside it. But as we get away, the map doesn't show anything. And it's such a brilliant design because it forces the crackheads like me to explore in order to find more landmarks and resources in the process, so that the map becomes actually readable, giving the players their location without actually having it always shown, making every walk meter feel like a step in the darkness. Right now, our map is only showing our hideout and a cross, presumably the exit from this place. The house itself is even more wrecked than our hideout. The structure is visibly damaged by fire. If caused by an accident with the oven or an attack of some sort is unknown. Inside, along with many supplies, we find a trapdoor, the entrance to the underground tunnels. The initial part is barely lit by a single flickering light that soon gets lost in the darkness of the inner depths. Despite the reinforced concrete and metal used to build this passage, the roots of the forest are too big, dense and heavy, to the point where some of them already made their way inside, so it's clear that the whole place is near the brink of collapse. But despite the various dead ends, we are able to reach the door. This is our only way of escaping, and guess what? It's locked. And it's also strange because from the keyhole, Darkwood Man hears some whisper, as if someone is calling him, praying him to get through this door. As he's standing back up, Darkwood Man notices a thick layer of dust on the knob, meaning the dock still hasn't touched it. Good. But we still have three problems though, because if on one side it's true the dock has no idea of where the exit is, on the other, we don't have the slightest clue about his location. And so what about the other two problems? Just give it a sec. Okay, that's the first one. Yep, time to get out, boys. Yeah, I don't really want to deal with that, so... We escaped, but from a pan, we went straight into a fryer because it's getting late and we must prepare for the night. And what a better way to prepare our mind and bodies to a fight against something we can't even start to grasp than a good old hemorrhoid soup. Once the epinephrine stick is full, we can select a new ability out of 3. Eagle Eye increases the distance at which we can see stuff. With Moth, we can heal our broken soul and bodies just by standing nearby an electric light source, only for once a day though. Navigator is what you should pick up because even if it's for one time a day, you can see your location on the map, which becomes particularly useful because in this game, when you get game ended, all of your stuff remained in the location of your
demise.
But said location remains visible on the map, so it becomes unbelievably useful when you're able to tell your location and move accordingly to reach whatever place you wanna go. Hey, Editing Apo here to tell that I completely forgot about the 4th perk, Healing Mushrooms, because it is unbelievably useless, but don't worry because I will talk about it later to explain why it is such a useless perk. So yeah, fuck. But for every tier or column, we must also choose a negative trait, and in this case, shadows. Staying in dark areas at night could be dangerous. Despite the hole in one of the walls being bigger than the Suez Canal itself, we're kinda able to lock ourselves in by dragging a wardrobe in front of it. Yes, you heard me correctly. Most pieces of furniture can be moved wherever you want and even destroyed, except the lamps. Those are unbreakable, thank God. My advice is to move all the light sources in a single room, so when one of them goes off, because it will, the other one got you covered. Now that we have the lightning sorted out, let's focus on self-defense since we already got attacked a couple of times and I think that that's more than enough. But from our inventory we can only craft basic tools and unless you're just call me Doc, that ain't gonna cut it, boy. Thankfully, for whoever's not a godlike being, there's the workbench. This beautiful object not only will allow you to store many junk, but also to craft more tools and things. Initially just a handful, but by upgrading it, you'll unlock new stuff, such as guns or guns, and even the possibility of creating new inventory slots to carry even more guns. Melee instruments can also be upgraded to increase its duration, meaning that said object can be used more times before it needs to be repaired. The stamina, simply it uses less energy for each attack. The damage, meaning the damage, and then the duration, again. And I know that it sounds redundant, but trust me, it isn't. Still, we don't have to think about any of that because for the moment we were only able to craft a nailed board. And we better embrace our tetanus-riddled piece of woods because night has fallen upon us. Nights can easily be considered the scariest and most intense part of the game. We still don't know what's out there, but whatever it is very close and sometimes pays a visit. This is a savage, similar to the ones that most likely attacked our old group, and during the night, they would be a constant threat. But danger, unfortunately, doesn't always come under the form of crazy-ass naked people, because many things can happen and eventually will happen. Most noticeably blackouts where every light source in the adult stops working except for one, and if you remember the description of the first negative trait, you better reach it quick. But don't let these harsh conditions destroy your spirit, because every so often you may hear a knocking. And given the context, it could only and possibly mean that something incredibly dangerous wants to enter my door, right? Wrong, because if we trust the stranger, this unknown presence who can never be seen but only heard, we will be rewarded with useful objects, including rugs, flares, and even mushrooms. And if it's one of your first nights, you may even receive an invitation to a wedding. Probably just a gentle reminder that even in the Darkwoods, someone is banging more than you. And me.
Hell no, man. What the fuck, man? Get your ass.
Thankfully though, the night ends only with the engaged guy dropping the invitation. We have made it to the second day. Well, I did. You just sat there judging my work. And this new morning starts right off with a surprise because someone paid us a visit.
Even from afar, I can smell your stench, meat.
The figure hides its face under the hood. It smells of wet soil and fur.
And I'll add that it also smells like Discord. But what does this Anubi-looking dude want from us? Apparently, some sort of deal.
I know what you're after. I can help you reclaim what you lost if you help me attend a certain matter. What do you say, comrade?
As he leans towards me, I can hear him jiggling under the hood.
I knew it would interest you. But before we make a deal, you need to prove me that you can do the job. I have no time for weaklings, mate. You follow. Show me what you're made of. Get through to the Silent Forest, and if I were you, I will prepare myself well before setting out. Once there, you will find me in this spot.
The wolf grabs my map and scribbles something.
The likes of you always crawl back to me.
Okay, I guess. Anyway, now we have three options. Show item, which is pretty self-explanatory, and we only have the road's picture, so yeah, let's give it a try.
What's that? This road doesn't exist anymore, overrun with roots like all the other ones.
Oh yeah, we'll see about that. And we can also have a chat with him, but he just mumbles about finding a better defense tool before getting into trouble. And last but not least, trade. The economy revolves around reputation. To make that extremely easy, just imagine a dollar sign instead of the word itself. Yeah, you can buy, sell. Yeah, oh shit. And after one day, all objects will be resetted, making them available once again for purchase. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Except that it isn't, because this gentleman has the toolbox, which is what we need to upgrade the workbench. But exactly like in real life, I can't afford it, so it begins our grind for more reputation. Wolfboy was pretty clear about it. Before leaving Dry Meadow to venture in the Silent Forest, we need something more sturdier than a board with 2 nails. But the equipment we need is expensive, so we either give head or start selling some shit. And on that regard, following the trail in front of our hideout takes us to a still undiscovered location. A couple of burned houses. Along with the eerie tone that accompanies our step onto the cracking floor, we also hear some barkings. But unfortunately, they're not good doggos. Along with the savages, they're the most common enemies. Luckily for us, nothing that a board with a bunch of nails can solve. Anyway, melee combat. Clunky but satisfying. We have 2 types of attack. The first one requires you to charge the attack before being able to strike, but if for whatever reason Darkwood manages it during the process, you need to restart everything. The second is usually a quicker strike that doesn't require you any charging, which is perfect for when you're cornered, but not so much for when you need to get away, since it usually consumes most of your stamina. The game also gives you the possibility to stealth. You basically throw a piece of meat which distracts some kind of enemies, then while you're eating you can sneak past. It's up to you what kind of gameplay you prefer. I usually destroy everything it gets in my path, but since for the video I wanna look human and lovable, I will destroy everything that gets in my path. Die, die, die. Oh, a note.
I know they are there. I can hear them laughing. They are behind the wall of trees. I can't get through by myself. The tree grows too fast.
We already knew there's something fundamentally wrong in these woods. Wrong and dangerous, fatally dangerous, and so who's out there laughing behind the wall of trees? Savages? It may be, but we heard them, and laughing doesn't seem to be something they do, or are able to do. And so, what if, hiding out there in the darkness caused by these unnaturally dense woods, there's something else? Something so strange and twisted that we cannot start to comprehend. Just outside the main building, we find a red swing, meaning that in this place used to live children, or at least one child, which is confirmed by the content found in the safe under a sofa. Because inside the safe, we find a child-sized dress. But why am I telling this to you? Because if this family went as far as to keep a little dress like one of the most precious belongings, it could only mean that something bad happened to its little owner. I mean, don't get me wrong, the laughs could just be an unfortunate coincidence, but what's more probable is that one day, for a reason or another, the little girl ran into the woods inside its deepest and darkest region, just to never return. But for some reason, from time to time, her laugh can still be heard echoing in between the trees, haunting the mind of whoever knew her. In the safe, we also find a piece of fine fabric. And I know for a fact that you're tempted right now. Your hands are shaking from the excitement of having 250 reputation right away. But don't sell it. This beautiful piece of cloth is one out of 2 materials necessary to craft expansion slot. This and ropes. And when I say don't sell it, I mean it. Every object you find in the map is unique and won't spawn back, which is fine when you wanna trade common things like rugs or pieces of metal, because you're still going to find another mountain of it in about 5 seconds. But other things like gun pieces, ammo or fine cloth should always be kept until you won't need them anymore, or to use them as a sort of coupon for when you're poor as shit and you still need something from the trader. Meanwhile, if you need quick cash, here's a list of things you can sell for quick reputation. Usually, the best loot is found inside the landmarks. Some of them can be described as remnants of what Dry Meadow used to be. You got crops, broken down tractors, houses, sanctuaries, camps where
dogs are feasting on dead bodies.
The usual, and these can be referred as artificial landmarks, whereas the others, I like to call them anomalies. The most common are weird, deformed trees, patches of land overrun by poisonous mushrooms, small thicket enveloped in darkness, and caves, which more often than not are overrun by dogs and savages, which will land traps on us, because inside these places you will always find the best shit. And besides this quirkiness, there are 2 places worthy of note. The first one is usually found nearby the hideout. At first glance, it simply looks like a savage drawing something on the ground to put it on Tumblr, but as we enter the area to grab the shiny stone, Darkwood men start to hallucinate about the key to the underground exit. The other weird location is found nearby a stream, and perhaps it's a place that perfectly encapsulates what Doc meant when he said that the roads have been devoured by the woods. What appeared to be a dark path leading to God knows where soon turns to be out a section of a house. In the deepest room we find a generator. Upon powering it, the light from a distant lamp reveals a couple of horrifyingly deformed and helplessly moving folks. But at the end of the day, without taking in consideration all cosmic threats nearby us, whatever you find, if it hasn't an urgent use or you simply don't remember what to do with it, should be sold. And if we continue with this violent mentality, I'm pretty sure that we will get a new melee instrument in a blink of an eye. New day, new surprise. A man roughly my size is standing before me. I can barely make out his disturbingly similar features through the matter of his helmet.
The massive helmet is covered in an old sack and seemed to be an integral part of the unnaturally pale body. I remember him. He's the one who rescued me from the doctor's house. The man reaches out to me with his black hand. It's covered in cargo. There's something written on his worn woolen glove.
We need to stick together, brother.
He is our savior and, most importantly, a trader. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the toolbox we need, so after showing the picture of the road to him with terrible results, we head up to Dog Guy. And there it is, the toolbox, 200 reputation. Especially now, at the start, I know that is a lot, but thanks to all the shite we stole yesterday, we get it no problem. I mean, that's like, what, one shiny stone and some pills. Nothing will compare to the sight that we get once we upgrade the workbench. Oh no. Wait a second. Now you are telling me that I still need to upgrade the workbench plus buy all the materials and what looks like the result of a McDonald's meal with no vegetables involved? Yes. Child, do not fret, because aside unlocking the first firearm in the game, a single-shot disposable handgun that doesn't need bullets nor gunpowder to propel its projectile but only overwhelming depression and alcoholism, we also get access to lanterns. Oh man, lanterns! Not only they illuminate your surroundings for 22 real minutes, but they are also unbelievably cheap to manufacture and extremely remunerative. At a cost of a mere 2 pieces of cloth, bottles and a wee of petrol, they can be easily resold at 100 back each. I mean, reputations. So, what can I say? Congratulations, you just defeated the economics of the game. Whenever you need something now, just trash the traders with lanterns and you're good to go. And now the money isn't a problem, let's focus our attention onto something that no one seemed to have. The dried stick of dirt. If you have a good memory, or just a functioning one, you may remember an anomalous place where Neil, probably high on fumes, was drawing things on the ground with a stick. Unfortunately, glue fumes completely melted his brain, so if we try to approach him, he'll run away thinking we are coppers. But if we calmly get close to him, maybe with a warm beverage, since you know it's Poland in the late 80s and it's very cold, he will happily lend us his stick after being overwhelmed by our display of affection. So we got the money, or at least the object to trade for reputation, and the materials, but not the trader because he only spawns in the morning. So, time to wait. During the night, a man appeared on the bed. He, while tying his shoes, mumbled about having to get out of there. Who is that man? He doesn't look like anybody we've seen. Maybe it's an hallucination or a flashback from before we took control. Either way, I feel like we are going to have plenty of time to think about it. This seems like a chill night.
As I approach him, the man drops a sack from his back onto the floor with a visible relief. I notice a smile on his face through the matter of his helmet. The man nods greeting.
Shut the hell up and buy my lantern! Ah, finally, the mighty shower. We can consider ourselves ready to enter the Silent Forest. But before setting out for the new and extremely exciting area, I want to show you everything that there's to see, which are literally 2 things. The first one is the container outside our hideout, which is sort of a complicated business because it contains supplies that were for the people who backed the game on Kickstarter, I believe. Sorry, but my memory is sort of shit right now. For honor, I cannot tell you its combination, but this equation will. Perfect. Second, during this night, someone left an invitation to a wedding, but where do we go? It's kinda complicated because the game is randomly generated each time we start a new profile and it changes a lot too. But usually, The waiting spawns at the edges of the map. In front of us stands a crop. Flower petals were previously scattered on the ground to guide the guest in the right direction. When we finally get out from the vegetal maze, the first thing we see is a wrecked building, shortly followed by a dog. The massive hole in the ceiling allows for a better view, which becomes useless since in this shed we don't find anything. The dilapidated building is connected to a dark courtyard, where we see the bride dancing without a single thought in her head, as if all the horror surrounding her house didn't exist. Behind her, another building, but to open this door, we must use the code found in the invitation. After entering, we find, yet again, another closed door. So to find a way inside, we make a detour in the kitchen. Once in the back garden, we are able to enter the house. And inside, a man greets us. He's continuously smashing his own head against the table. In the northern part of the house, just behind the man, we enter another part of the garden, shrouded in complete darkness as the dense thicket make it almost impossible for the light to come in. But in the absolute obscurity, we are still able to see something that simply doesn't make any sense. We see the bribe again and again. Well, folks, that was scary. I hope nothing else that put my heart under pressure comes out. First rule of Darkwood. You are never prepared to... The Darkwoods? But what was that thing, and why was it wearing the bright dress? Are we hallucinating, or is this plague even more unimaginably horrifying than what we presumed? I'm not gonna lie, it's a dooming thought. But it's nothing more than just a thought, and I am sure we're gonna find more answers in the Silent Forest.
That is tomorrow, because getting shitless scared makes time pass really quickly, and it's already late.
Getting to the entrance of the Silent Forest is fairly easy, but crossing it, not so much. A dense thicket muffles all the light, leaving a small house in complete darkness. Besides the entrance, we find a crate containing some stuff and petrol, which becomes particularly handy since there's also a generator. The inside of the house are absolutely trashed, the furniture is destroyed, and the floor is riddled with a strange organic substance that slowly drains our health and bug nests. The weird diarrhea can be debelled using Molotov, torches. Fire in general works great against everything, even yourself, so be careful. In the deepest part of the house, we see a single light bulb struggling to keep up with the sober condition of the room. A couple of wardrobes obstruct the way, making it impossible to see what's in the corner. And so we get closer. The small room is full of juicy stuff and a small note.
The door code is 3333. It can't get any easier, remember it, because I'm not opening that door after night anymore. I went to get some gasoline from the pig shed. I would be back after dark.
A decomposing body suggests that once he came home, the man who went to the pig shed wasn't himself. Or perhaps the savage entered the house after whoever was inside opened the door, hoping for their husband, son or father to cross that entrance, but it never happened. And it couldn't happen, because something far worse than death awaited him. Just like it's currently doing with everybody else who's unfortunate enough to be trapped in this cursed land. Outside the locked door, we find a person on the ground, simply referred as Sleeper. On him, we find a couple of shells and a map with 2 locations. The one is an hideout, and the other a place called Piotrek's house. And so we start walking towards our new refuge, when...
Hey friends, in your left hideout, look for an exit beneath the floor.
Yeah, I mean, sure, if you want me to, no problem. Anyway, for now, let's run straight into our new and not so shiny hideout, because, I mean, you hear these noises? Yeah, they're not good noises. This new luxury accommodation is significantly bigger than the previous one, and most importantly, full of loot. Yeah, you heard me correctly, but don't get distracted, because the first thing that you must do when in a new hideout is light the oven. Now, as a standard procedure, we proceed to take literally everything from this place, including some mushroom and a bike bell, which has a note attached to it.
liquor tasting and transport services, fast and efficient. Call now.
When this mystical object is used, it summons Dimitri, the local alcoholic that somehow manages to have a new shiny bike every week despite having no job. This honest man will only ask for a bottle of raw, pure, disgusting alcohol to move all of our stuff from one hideout to the other. Now it's time to cook some mushrooms and to discover another new feature of this place: efficiency, meaning more Darkwood juices for us. After we choose our new ability, Darkwood Man passes out. We are now into some sort of cave in what hopefully is an hallucination brought by the mushrooms. The place is very dark, but providentially we woke up with an electric torch, and if that wasn't enough, the path is marked by shiny stones. But immediately we hear voices. Following the voices, we come to an armored door. After our protagonist presses his ear against the keyhole, he hears the same familiar whispers calling him. Whereas looking through the keyhole doesn't reveal a distant and reassuring light, but rather what seems a wall of flesh. And the door opens. The whispers continue to echo all through the tunnel. And when the tunnel ends, they continue to call deeper and deeper into the wilderness. By pushing ourselves further in this surreal forest, we stumble upon a flywheel, and not far away, we also find a yellow carpet with a house lamp on. It's really strange what kind of everything is, but what's this lamp doing out here? Maybe these are all pieces, remembrance if you will, of his hometown. And Darkwood Man is dreaming about them because he wishes nothing more than feeling, once again, safe. Or our nameless protagonist is dreaming about something else. Something that is always watching us from behind the tree trunks. Something that has already caused countless victims. Something that you can only imagine once you have an idea of how much death, horror and misery nature in its infinite forms can cause. As the light spreads between the tree branches, the ghostly forest is replaced by an ocean of twitching bodies, a never-ending sea of pure sufferance. When the lamp is turned off, we're back in the woods. The trail of shiny stones lead to a white, immaculate and particularly comfy-looking bed, where we can actually lie down and rest. And just like that, we're back into our hideout. And it's time to prepare our asses for the first night here. Luckily, while Darkwood Man was enjoying a drug-induced sleep, Dmitri left all of our belongings on the floor. So now we just barricade windows and doors and hope for the sun to rise. Right? Wrong! Because in this area enemies are more aggressive than ever. Savages will attack on sight, and most of them are even armed with sticks or stones. Dogs are replaced by huge dogs, which are the one that made the very reassuring noise at the entrance. They simply are bloodthirsty monsters that will chase the player down and eat him, if not stopped or outrun. And differences do not stop here. Another peculiar thing is the loot that they leave. Normal dogs will give us some meat that could only be used to lure enemies away, whereas these chonkers give us some raw meat, which, exactly like the mushrooms, can be cooked to extract all the Darkwood juices inside. But if there is one thing that all enemies have in common is they will force their way inside your hideout and beat your ass. So we must fight our way to dusk or die and skip the morning, but then we won't receive our daily reputation. Okay, before you start letting yourself get eaten, this does not apply on harder difficulties where your lives are limited. So if you really wanna fight, here's an OP layout. Drag both lamps and the wardrobe where the stove is, but leave one lamp in the way so it will light up also the bathroom. Take the couch from, I don't know, the garage and leave it in the entrance of the stove room. Then use the bathtub to internally lock the bathroom and then drag all the rest of the mobilia outside the bathroom's door. And voila! Now the only thing you need to worry about is that single window, but Simply drop a bear trap in front of it and you're covered. And with that, we made it to day 6. It's a new day in the Silent Forest, and today we will meet the wolf. But before setting out, it would be better if we get something that hopefully helps Darkwood man into getting home before dark. Kinda like a watch, which is sold by, you guessed it, the trader.
The man stands before me, motionless. I can see my own reflection in the semi-transparent visor of his helmet. Suddenly he starts to move, as if looking for something in his bag. He takes out a piece of charcoal and starts writing on his palm.
There's no way out of here, brother. We're stuck with each other.
And we will be stuck in each other if you don't stop being so goddamn sexy.
After making sure I've read also the second sentence, the man takes out a full tank of gasoline and places it next to me.
Nah, okay, you know what? He does deserve some head. But why is he helping us? The trader literally saved our life back when we were at Doc's place, and now he gifted us petrol, gasoline, cancer juice prime, however you wanna call it, we got it for free. Maybe he did it because he knows us, perhaps because he was one of our old group, and then the Darkwood infection did him dirty. Or he's doing what he's doing because we and the trader are tied. Almost connected by something that we cannot comprehend yet. There he is, the maniac, camping like Bear Grylls.
I'll be damned. I barely believe my beautiful eyes. You made it. I need to admit it. You're a quite resourceful piece of meat.
The wolf smiles, revealing a sharp row of teeth.
Time to get to the specifics. Follow the path located in the southwestern edge of the Silent Forest. You'll get to a village where you find a hag who reeks of chickens. Talk to her. Maybe you learn something interesting. But be on your guard, comrade. Don't let her deceive you with the camp face of her. The selfish bitch is keeping something that does not belong to her behind the locked door in the house. Something I'm after. Bring me the key to the door, and I will tell you where to find the thing you lost. Is that fair, comrade? A key for a key. Good. Now take off. Get to work.
Finally, we got an objective and some indications. But most importantly, we are not alone. Because more people live in these woods, and if luck runs on our side, they may be normal folks, or even good folks. Let's see what Dogman thinks about them.
Looks like no one will knight you. Listen. The inhabitants of our lovely village hold many, many secrets. Treasures they do not wish to share with anyone. Those selfish, deceitful righteous, they think they're superior because they have human gobs, so they treat us like lepers. But you know what? Fuck them. We're buddies, you and I, aren't we? And them, they deserve to be punished. Hear that squealing? It's one of their secrets. Find that pig shed meat, make that squealing stop, and the treasure will be yours.
It seems that for some reasons, Pugboy deeply hates the villagers. In my honest opinion, he got bullied at school for wearing his fairy suit. We will never know. I mean, we will, but in about 3 hours or so of video. Anyway, we got a full new area to explore. Exactly like Dry Meadow, locations can be divided into 2 major groups: artificial, anomalous. The second one are very similar to
Dry Meadow,
exception given for a massive hole in the ground which faces onto an abyss of roots, and a small thicket, like many we already saw, only that this one isn't the perfect environment for mushrooms to grow, but rather a nest. And not a comfy place for birds where birds do bird things, because this nest belongs to savages. Inside we find 3 of them. The first one appeared to be burying himself, whereas the second is chewing on a fallen tree, implying that all 2 trees were consumed by savages. If we get too close, they will all run away. Except for a fella who's burying himself. Because unlike me, he's very focused on his job. But the artificial locations are definitely the most unique. You got 2 broken trucks, one of which contains a list of people. Probably just a list of those who lived here and not even long ago, since inside our hideout we found a ration stamp dated 1975, which in the worst case means that this situation is going on from about 12 years. Meanwhile, in the best case scenario, this place is just shit. As far as vehicles, we also got 2 World War II tanks, probably just remnants of an old battle. And so, why do we find modern batteries as well as AK-47 mags inside? When were these tanks used then? Against who? Or what? It doesn't matter. Well, I mean, it fucking does, but we will find that out. But tomorrow, because it's getting late, then my pockets are full of the stuff I found. I can't walk properly, so come on, don't be an ass, let's go home. Finally, the sun is blazing upon us, and the trader's pockets are full of our junk, so we set out for the village. Its location will very likely be different from mine, but guess what? I got lucky, because the entrance to the village is nearby another interesting place, Piotrek's house. The place looks like a warehouse, even Darkwood Man underlines its terrible conditions. And the only door besides the entrance is locked, so we start looking for shit to steal, to borrow. When?
Who's there? I'm not coming out until that beast in my garage is gone.
Killing things! Sure, buddy! And while I'm at it, I'm gonna steal everything in your house that is not glued or screwed to the floor. Oh, and by the way, between huge mutated dogs and people with their penis in the air, the incredible beast in his garage was a dog. Inside the garage, we find a chest with a drawing of what looked like immortalized schizophrenia, or, if you squint your eyes to the point of nearby blindness, a rocket. And now that the beast is gone, we can open the door.
Oops, I didn't hear you come in.
The boy's eyes wander all over the room until they lock on something on the ground.
I found this wiggly metal thingy yesterday. It was laying in the grass. I don't like grass. It's so slippery and it tickles your feet. Rather than grass, I would prefer these metal wiggles. Yes!
The metal antennas on his wiry hat suddenly starts vibrating.
Do you have any metal wigglies?
It's lampant how my man here is missing some neural connection, and as we try to speak about anything, his mental glitches only become more and more apparent.
I like to watch stars at night. Sometimes you can see these bright blinking spots. Those are spaceships and rockets, obviously. The sky is so boring during the day. No stars, no ships, no rockets, nothing. Only these white smoke trails. I saw one yesterday. Over there, far above the treetops. Dad used to say they were planes, but such long planes? It would be crazy to fly them.
Yeah, I mean, that would be crazy! That and nothing else. Or no one else. If we show the blueprint, Piotrek reveals he's building a rocket to escape the Darkwoods. And if you're wondering why a rocket and not why he didn't use the same amount of resources to build a bomb or a machine able to break through the wall of trees, well, but seriously though, this is a very tragic situation where a mentally ill person was left alone to fend for themselves in a place where many people push themselves to do unspeakable acts in order to survive, and he's simply asking for a hand, for a bit of help to finally realize his dream of flying into space. And goddamn, I will help him! And not only because I am a beautiful, gentle, beautiful, caring, beautiful, humble guy. But also because Piotrek will give us 100 reputation for each piece delivered. And as you can see, he got a very juicy military torch that we will have for free. So yeah, we help him because we are good human beings. And it's a trade that we will do tomorrow because guess what? It's not getting late. We gotta visit the village. The only road leading to the village is starting to lose its battle against nature, which, when compared to everything else, sounds and look pretty boring, right? Wrong. Because even this normal-looking road shows how contorted and depraved life got in these woods. Just before the village's entrance, a row of trees catches our attention, and upon further investigation, we discover something horrifying. Someone tied some pigs to the trees and gutted them, leaving their inside exposed. Who did this? Was Wolfman mocking the villagers, or they did it? Maybe to scare off potential threat from the village. Either way, there is only one interpretation of what we just saw. This is an omen of doom. At the entrance we were greeted by crops and a small shrine, but the Virgin Mary inside was covered in mud and sticks. Someone went as far as placing a shiny stones in her head. We have the option to take it or leave it there, but since they don't seem very chill, I don't think stealing from them would be a good idea. I mean, I'm still going to, but not the religious item. What am I, a monster? I mean, maybe if they aren't on display then. Further down, a bridge crosses a small river. On the other side, we can see an old lady peacefully cleaning some clothing.
Our woods are so beautiful this time of the year.
But does she know about what's happening outside the village? Probably not. After all, this is Poland in the late 80s, and I doubt that the regime at the time will have shared information with civilians. Or she does know about the horrid and inexplicable things that are going on, but something in her brain is driving her into belief that everything's fine, that this plague is just a flu, and if you ignore it, it will go away. Needless to say, we do know that this is not the case. Nearby the busy lady, the first houses start to appear, and the path splits in two. The left lane takes us at the center of the village, where a woman violently punches someone's house asking for meat. But despite the nymphomaniac lady, the village seems pretty chill. You got people chatting, someone chilling by the fire, but once again, if we look close enough, this thin facade of normality soon reveal its true tragic nature. After spending some time nearby these two chaps, we'll hear some strange things.
I dreamt of my mother today. She stood between the trees behind our hut. She was saying something. I tried to walk towards her, but I got stuck between the tree trunks. It's been 10 years since they took her.
Not even this rural community is being spared by the plague. Not a good prospect for Darkwood men, or for what we know, humanity itself. But we don't have time to waste! Oh wait, production just informed me that we indeed have a shit ton of time to waste because the village is one of few areas where time doesn't pass. And no, this is not an interstellar type of shite. These are simply the developers being nice with the player. Anyway, we need to find the lady who reeks of chickens. Taking the right lane takes us to a more secluded area of the village, where a woman is existing in her burned house. In the crate beside her, we only find a slightly burned doll, so without having nothing else to steal, analyze, we simply start walking away when she starts repeating the same sentence over and over.
Kill the pig. Unfortunate.
Nah, sis, have you saw him? Such a cutie. And finally, after some unnecessary physical activity, we get to a house. The insides are covered in feces and feathers, something that I will shamelessly steal 35 years later when exploring an abandoned radio station. Yeah, it's just pigeon shit. Hey, why you followed that up there? Oh, you know, man, last time he showed us a building full of shit. That was so brave. And once inside the other room, we see her. The old lady squints at me. Her eyes are full of suspicion. She even hugs her cheek and possessively.
Better keep them hands off of me hands, ya bloody scoundrel.
She puts one hand to her ear while anxiously mumbling under her breath. After a moment, she calms down.
I've seen measure things, lived through many a war, but nothing like this. North, be my witness. This accursed land ain't a place for men, ain't a place for hands.
Okay, we get it. You like chickens. There is no need to mention them in every sentence that comes out of your third-stained mouth. Now you see, you got angry again. You should not do that. You got angry. What a creep. Anyway, as the wolf previously said, if we chat a bit, we do learn some interesting stuff. Firstly, she mentioned the saw and how it is the only thing that gives this village something to eat. And I mean, it must be a pretty amazing saw since it's the third character that mentions it. The second peculiar fact is told to us only if we show the chicken that we took from Sleeping Man in the intro. The old lady seems disturbed. The ants fell silent. I can feel the tension in the air.
Holy Mother, it's Janek's little hen, a gift from me, my little brother. A couple of days ago he got mad. I told him stay here, no one of them brainy fellas, yeah, no nothing. But he wouldn't listen, and off he went. Here, take this. He went to see this fella. See him? He never came back.
The lady shoves a crumpled photo into my hand. Yes! The doctor! Good news! We are getting closer to find him! But bad news! We game-ended his little brother. Skill issue! And she also talks about a lady who apparently gave birth to something so aberrant that the other villagers burned her house down while her husband was inside, took their son and threw it into the village well. As you should. But right when the story gets engaging, someone starts to butcher a violin outside. But before exchanging a few words with this gentleman, we take a look around because, let me tell you this, Granny got some good stuff in here. Yep, good stuff indeed. But also some peculiar things too, like this cross, in which Jesus was covered in hopefully mud and sticks. We already saw a disfigured religious item right at the entrance of the village, but if its location and Wolfsman attitude may have suggested his hand behind it, this cross tells the opposite story. Out of desperations, these people turn their back to God, Captain Crunch, whatever, to worship the only thing that is keeping them safe, but at the same time in constant danger. Something that is leading the village to starvation while giving them some watery bread to eat. The woods. Just outside the chicken coop there is this house. We see a boy, but as soon as we get too close, he runs under a tractor.
Sorry, it won't happen again.
The boy, still hidden under the tractor, apologizes for the terrible sound of his violin, stating that it's broken, and then continues.
Sir? Have you been in their hut? The chicken lady's hut? You're not afraid of her? You're brave. Have you seen her? The pretty lady? She's the most beautiful lady in the world. I watch her through the cracks in the window. She changes when I watch her. Just more beautiful. I play for her. I want her to be happy, because she doesn't seem to be. The chicken lady locked her in that room.
And you know what? He got a bit of a point. Both when we were borrowing stuff, there was indeed a strange noise, sort of like a heavy breathing. Let me just take a look in there. The pretty lady, mamma mia che bellezza.
She keeps her there. She invites her. She won't allow anyone to see her. Even me. She knows very well that during the couple night I finish out the pretty lady's rat. Yes, sir. The chicken lady knows what it means. I will become her husband. We will work hand in hand, sir. I will pray for her, Mr. Sir.
Oh, and by the way, for any of you wondering, the Kupala night is a celebration of the summer start. Yeah. Now, how the fuck do I get back home? I'm sure I'll figure out how to survive. Anyway, the boy also tells that he already tried to free the pretty lady but failed to when the chicken lady chased him off with a pitchfork on fire. Interestingly enough, though, he also tells about a second key, which apparently is kept by a certain guy called Jan. And I sure hope that Jan isn't an abbreviation. At this point we're given the option to nod, showing interest in the boy's story, or simply act bothered. I don't fucking know. If we nod, he'll continue saying how we are just like his dad, before he started to hate him. And finally, he dropped some info. Apparently, before this Gen guy went mysteriously missing, he hanged a lot by the village well, as if he was looking for something, or, as we learned, maybe someone. The boy also asked to give the kid to him, but nah. We are now basically free to do whatever we like, including a bit of burglary. For convenience, we start from the confining property. Inside, we hear someone speaking.
He said, it needs to be done. It will help, he said. I don't understand.
The person who talked lays delirious on her bed. On the nearby table, we also find a note. Burn a mix of herbs in the oven. Keep the patient warm. Twice a day, a tablespoon of sauerkraut juice by mouth. It seems just a simple and traditional remedy against flu, so maybe the smoke is coming from the mix of herbs being burned. But as we enter the kitchen, even Darkwood man remarks how terrible the smell is, and for one time it is not my fault, because the smokes aren't coming from my ass nor from a mix of herb being burned, but rather from the charred remains of a poor chap who got too close to the oven. And even stranger, this poor guy had all of his limbs tied with a metal chain, a chain that we can't steal! I mean, honestly, I don't think that charred man here is gonna miss it. So we got a chain, but what do we do? The boy said that this Jan guy always used to hang by the well, and there it is, a well, but no trace of Jan. So, yeah, you guessed it. We have to find a specific well, and here's my plan on how to do it. We are going to enter in every single house and steal the shit out of these villagers. I'm missing something here. But unfortunately, my pockets are already full. So now we have to walk all the way back to our hideout and put everything in the storage. Right? Because nearby the meat-asking woman, we find some holes. And when we get too close, something yells that those are his holes, his and no one else's. But since we are to Akabe, YOLO, and other cool words, we enter them despite the man's words. And would you look at that, a conveniently placed shortcut. Listen, as I wait, you better start doing something wrong or your team is gonna wake up tonight with an Italian man giving head to them. So watch out. I'm watching you. I know that you live in Poland. Coincidentally, the holes are located nearby a house we yet haven't seen. The door is being kept closed by a couple of wardrobes, a highly sophisticated security device that luckily is defeated by the traction offered by our shoes. All the furniture behind the door is empty, which is a great foreshadowing to the overall condition of the house, since it's shit. You could say almost abandoned, if it wasn't for a noise. A little, insignificant noise that only becomes stronger and stronger when we get close to the next room. And that's because in this derelict of a house, we are not alone. Someone is on the ground, painfully twitching, almost like he's suffering from seizures, all meanwhile his arms are tied on his back. The house, likely not, contains 2 more people. One, just like the human burner, is an old lady who's just trying to sleep with a pig. In a nearby wardrobe, we also find a remedy against intestinal parasites, and last but not least, a lad who has the same hairstyle of a man who would punch you into hospital if you trash talk about his favorite soccer team. In front of the home we just robbed, we find a man chilling at a campfire, while he curses someone that we already know.
If he ever tries to come back, fucking quack doctor.
In between the ashes and coal, we find his medical bag. So that's why all recipes have the same type of paper of Doc's notebook. He wrote all of them. So, maybe, if we search hard enough, we will find some clues about his location. And about that, we only need to explore 2 buildings. One of them has like 3 generators, which could only and possibly mean that this guy is running an RTX 490. The other one is just in front of it, and it literally is just a small, shitty shed, but inside we find a locked crate and a note titled Madman Scribblings. The writer seems to talk about a girl who's not eating enough and how the author is the only one that can feed her, as he's the sole person that can get close to her. Then we just got drawings of pigs and mental illnesses, but also half of a code. It's very suspicious. But again, everything in this game is, even how we found the well in this exact moment after I showed you everything. How lucky is that?
An old, destroyed well. If I find a long, sturdy rope or chain, I should be able to descend it.
Thank you so much, Charedman. You will never be forgotten. After descending in the well, we see how it isn't just a hole in the ground with some water, but a full cave system complete with wacky hieroglyphics carved in the stone. In the deepest and darkest area of the cave, we find some depictions of people next to something circular or spherical. I don't know. And I don't wanna know! Let me quickly switch to voiceover, please. With every step taken, the cave slowly shifts from a rocky formation to something almost organic. Floors and walls are covered in flesh, and it is in this nightmarish environment that we find whatever produced the noise. The creature, after a moment of hesitation, lunges against us. Due to the limited visibility, it's hard to understand what's going on, but after we overcome the attacker, its appearances are revealed. The assailant has the height and general look of a child. If it wasn't for its head and torso vertically split open to create a massive mouth used to attack. The game calls it Small Chomper. On him, we only found a small plastic doll, equal in every single way to the one we found next to the crazy woman, except for the fire damage. This small creature was the child of the woman who told us to game the pig. But this in itself brings another rather obvious question. Is this what the final stage of the plague looked like? Doomingly, it does seem like it, because the weird transformation the boy had gone through will explain the look of some villagers we saw, like the lad sat in a corner. That thing on his head, it wasn't a tomahawk or another yes haircut, but rather a wound that will only and slowly become bigger and bigger. Following the airflow brings us to a corridor. At the end, we see some light coming down from the ceiling. We found the exit. And please, Acid Wizard, could you please explain why you put 2 mushrooms here to block the way? I mean, you can easily pass after you took at least one of them. or if you poison yourself, because spoiler, yeah, stepping on white mushrooms and hemorrhage mushrooms and poison and venom the protagonist. And to be fair, after countless hours that I spent of this game, this was the only instance where they sort of blocked your way, and I'm pretty sure that this was done to force the player to fight this small chomper, and I would push even this further by saying that they wanted you to acknowledge that this creature was once human. As if I couldn't tell. On the surface, we find ourselves inside a house. Its collapsed pavement functions as an exit from the cave. From inside a wardrobe, we pick up a dog tag. Nope. Jan wasn't an abbreviation. We destroyed Chicken's lady brother. But despite what she said, my boy wasn't that dumb. He sort of understood what was lurking in the well, so much so that he blocked all the entrance doors leading to the hall in his house and spent his last days trying to figure out what was living underground. Anyway, what's important is that from a shell we pick up a key covered in chicken feces, and why he didn't clean it. And now we can finally go back to our hideout and cook all the mushroom we picked up. As a result, we can now choose between 3 new abilities. Acid Blood, whenever we get hit, our blood will deal some damage to the enemies, a tiny bit. Third Eye, once a day we can set up our FOV on GZ Doom at 360 degrees. And last but not least, Running. Basically, a Monster Energy Ultra will appear every morning in our inventory, and upon consumption, our stamina will become limitless for about 20 seconds, which is great for when you're in need of a getaway. And since I'm a coward, you already know what I'm going to pick up. Meanwhile, as a negative trait, let's choose Vulnerable to Poison, because, I mean, it's not like we used to bath in it. But once again, Darkwood Man falls into a deep, drug-induced slumber. We're in a house, and by the looks of it, a real one. We know everything around us is unreal, yet it's the first time we see a place that somewhat resembles the normal world. There's a park outside, and even a black and white TV. I wonder what's transmitted in communist Poland.
Yay! Stars are falling from the sky! They twinkle first, and then they fall straight into your paws. But Teddy Drop here, these are not stars. It's snow.
I mean, basically everything's magnificent, right?
About?
Well, yeah,
Surely
that is,
stars.
until the crushing weight of reality comes knocking to our door. Literally. And let me get something clear right away. Something that my dumb ass didn't understood until the second gameplay, or even third one. This isn't Darkwood Man kidnapping someone, but rather his consciousness kicking in. Sort of like, hey man, you better wake the fuck up before you become a bush. Or even worse, a Regan. But thanks to that awful ass joke, Darkwood Man wakes up. Only that now we must take a very important decision. Who gets the key? Canine Dude or Music Boy? We'll find that out in a second, because now it's time to do all the shit that we haven't done, like helping Piotrek to build his rocket, visit the pig shed, and thanks every single one of the people who took part in this video, because without you, this project will look pretty much like this. Fuck's sake, man. Yeah, it's horrible. So, if you have a second, check them out. Really thank you for taking part in this project, and I cannot express with words how overwhelmed I am. So, thank you. Now, let's continue with the video. Let's start from Piotrek, both because he somehow manages to be the sanest person around, and because I love it. Also, he's gonna give us 100 reputation for every piece delivered. That, and also some nonsense every now and then.
Space dust. Space dust is everywhere.
Shh. I love you. At this point, I highly recommend using the reputation earned to buy a military torch and this little map right here. In addition to reward us for our officiousness, Piotrek also gave us a welder to upgrade our workbench. So now the only things we have to worry about is to finally see this saw. The pig shed presents itself as a massive compound surrounded by high reinforced walls, probably erected to keep the animals inside as opposed to people out, since the entrance is wide open. As we walk deeper in the courtyard, we encounter a couple of people sitting next to a campfire. If we wait long enough, they'll start talking. Nothing useful comes out of their mouth, except when one of them revealed that the saw kept here is the only one in the village, and someone cut the cable to force feed her. Probably just to keep it chunky all year. Anyway, these two dudes aren't doing nothing bad, so I recommend letting them be. The second and bigger shed is shrouded in darkness, and after just a few steps, we start hearing some strong noises. Before finding out the source of the noise, we gotta overcome another obstacle. This poor deluded man with a pitchfork. Skill issue, buddy. In a deeper area full of pigs feasting on carcasses, we discover what caused all the commotion. A massive mutated pig is laying in the darkest and deeper corner of the shed. The containers full of infected meat suggest that the mutation may have been caused, or if anything, exacerbated by the villagers force-feeding her in order to have more piglings. Something so shocking that caused Darkwood man an instant death. Well, it wasn't instant, it was more slow and painful, and to add salt to the injury caused by pigs eating my legs. Just like the good old mafia. Man, what a great time for being inside my dad's balls. Anyway, it's redundant to say, but fuck the villagers, we're game-ending this abomination. But how? Lucky us, there's a solution. In the depend on RNG part of the compound, we find the smallest of all buildings, with a tray of cables leading directly where the saw is. Unfortunately, at some point in time, the cables were cut, but maybe there are some spare parts in the little house. Besides the machinery that can be used to deliver electric shocks to the saw, we also find a sleeping man that definitely I haven't game-ended myself. A flyer depicting the saw before whatever's happening changed her appearances, but also some pieces of mirror, where for the first time we can finally see ourselves. You are one ugly bastard. I guess you got what you deserved. If I have to take a guess, our beloved Darkwood man is suffering from survival remorse. Probably he thinks that if he had acted differently, all of his friends would have been alive. In regard to his appearances though, it's pretty much clear from the start that we're infected. Both Doc and ourselves injected our protagonist with Darkwood juices, both obtaining useful abilities but also horrible disfigurements. Just think how Navigator allows him to tear off a piece of his own body to mark the location. As for the overall sadness of the dialogue, I'm pretty sure that he's aware of what I'm currently doing. As an alternative, you could have bought the cable from Piotrek, or took them from the crazy-ass woman who, in retaliation against the villager for destroying her own life, slashed the cables with a knife. Hence, that is what you find on her. From a sleeping man next to the saw, we pick up a single-shot handgun and the second part of the manuscript, which alludes that the saw was fed with red mushrooms and other sleeping men. Now that we completed everything, it's time to give the key to home repair.
Bravo, mate. No more squeals.
Suddenly, the wolf slaps me on the cheek.
I can fucking hear the pitiful sobs of outrageous and the play of the peasants begging their beloved forest to bring back the soul life. Poor fuckers have no idea I will be the only one to hear their cries.
The wolf burst into laughter.
This is music to my ears, mate. Their lamentations make me calm. able to sleep soundly. I bet they will attempt to break through the wall of trees. Such a shame I can breath their desperation up close. Meet, just one more thing. Say hello from me when you're in the village. Send them my greetings.
And unfortunately, it was now that I realized I forgot to take the key from the shelf. Immediately, once outside the halls, our eyes are punished by the sight of the soul's massive carcass with two women praying next to it. The wolf was right on everything, even on the villagers trying to break through the wall of trees. On the way towards Jan's hut, a random guy informed us that the mayor wants to have a chat with us. And I'm sure that nothing bad will happen, especially considering that we gotta go into his basement. And as everybody knows, nothing bad has ever happened into basements. Down in the cellar, two men are waiting for us. Unlucky them, I'm armed. Unlucky me, they got a monster. Unlucky the monster, my shovel is fully loaded. Clearly the villager don't want us here, and I don't want to stay, so let's just take the key and get the fuck out. And of course the craziest man left piglets all over my floor. They are gonna regret this. Oh yes, they are going to once they all start to starve. At least, now that we have the fickle key, we can give it to Uomolupo and hopefully learn something about Doc's location. As I produce the key, the wolf's pupils wide with excitement.
Well, mate, I didn't think you could succeed. I'm impressed. Time for your reward. You'll find the quack thief here, but he locked himself away from the world and he won't let anyone in. So I don't know if this information will be of any use to you, matey. What the fuck are you looking at? I promised I'll tell you where to find him, and I did. Did I tell you you'll be able to get there? That's something else, isn't it?
The wolf burst out with laughter.
Get to the northern part of the woods. You'll find someone there who can help you. Oh, and mate, deliver this to that filthy old woman for a sign of gratitude for her sister. Now get the hell out of my sight. I got business to attend to.
As I pick up the object, the wolfman disappears. So old woods, huh? Then it will be, because no one forces me to steal a key without giving nothing in return, especially when said key transmitted 8 different intestinal parasites. Even though I guess that the hot bar upgrade isn't really nothing, but sure as hell, or post-nut depression, it ain't enough. And I can already hear the one that haven't played this game asking legitimate questions such as, "But Apple, why don't you just loot those crates over here?" You wanna shut the fuck up! They're locked! They are locked! Nah, but I'm a PC gamer, so we're gonna get those boxes open. And so, what's so special about the content of these boxes? Nothing. You know, in one we only find basically every single gun in the game, and in the other, their ammo. So, nothing special. If this is the first time you play the game, please don't do it, because it will simply break the immersion and difficulty of the game, making every fight a joke. Meanwhile, if you're on console, you just can't. And also PS5 has no games, so fuck you. God, I love revenge when it involves stealing shit. And tomorrow, we will venture into the old woods. If you haven't looted the boxes, I highly recommend to craft a bunch of Molotovs and single-shot handguns, cause you never know when those bullets gonna end. And now, it's time to cross the bridge that you really shouldn't have crossed before, which still can't be traversed cause some homeless people blocked the way. So, as every nice person should do, we provide them with a blanket. A blanket of
love and compassion.
We just entered the old woods, the third and hopefully final section of the game. I say hopefully because I want this man to get back home, not because the game's boring. Trust me, I'll be damned if this wasn't one of the best and most magnificent games that I've ever played. Anyway, The vegetation in this part of the woods is, as you can see, way more thicker and dense than the other two. Giant wood formations take up the space of an entire house, and more often than not, they create dead ends where enemies can easily get us. And most noticeably, anomalous markers are way more frequent. We got weird patches of land overrun with insects, and the white remnants of a building, which are marked on our map with the same symbols used for hideouts, which made me realize that this place is nothing more than a copy of our first refuge. But everything inside is non-functional, as if the sole purpose of this place was to mimic our first hideout. But let's not waste any time on useless thinking, because as tradition, our pockets are full of mushrooms and we got a new, shiny and more efficient oven to try. Just look how fast it fills up! And I think it's pretty much as fast as you can go, as if this is going to be our last hideout. Anyway, acid blood, come to me! By now, if you followed my guide, you're an absolute beast, a death machine ready to make the Darkwood even more darker thanks to the blood of your enemies. You should have at least a handgun and be on your way to build yourself a shotgun, because now it's time to get a bit aggressive. We need to level up, and both doggos and chompers meat can be cooked. Also, these two motherfuckers will relentlessly hunt us down, unless we outrun them, of course, but we only risk to find more enemies. So guess what? So just to be 100% clear, from this point on, you shoot on sight. And now let's just assume that I was able to fill the syringe, so we can see what happens. The 3 new perks are Careful Step. Once a day, we won't trigger bear traps, which is very useful for when you're running away from an enemy and you need them immobilized, so you get even more time to run away. But we said that this is not gonna be our tactic. Appetite. Eating wood restores health. Yeah, you heard me correctly, and I really love this perk for 2 reasons. First, it's really fucking useful, and second, it makes appetite completely redundant. And if you choose it, here's your new ringtone. Yeah, you're a clown. And then scream. Once a day we can destroy our vocal apparatus to scare off all nearby enemies. I already know what I'm going to pick up, and it's of course appetite, because you know, wood. As a negative trait, let's go with weakness, which decreases the amount of damage we deal when our stamina is low. And since it only applies to melee weapons, I believe we're gonna be fine. Once our mushroom-induced trip ends. We are now in a woody area, as many we've already saw, if it wasn't for an object that we find on the ground. A massive bell, which sound still echoes inside. As we walk deeper in the area, the grass under our feet is replaced by the collapsed church facade. At its entrance, we see a man looking around, but I don't want to talk to him right now. I gotta psychologically prepare myself for the human interaction. So you know, let's just check out the surroundings. After all, nature is so beautiful this time of the year. And in fact, in the right side of the garden, we see something that inspires positive feelings, almost hope for our future. A man is happily napping on the ground. When we get closer, the body reminds us how life in China is.
You have no voice, nor free will, but do not fret. You are in good hands. I see it in his eyes when he looks down upon me.
But who or what's the napping man talking about? Is he referring about God? After all, we saw this figure religious item everywhere, so maybe this is a punishment inflicted by the Almighty itself. Or perhaps there's something else, something so powerful and incomprehensible that is being venerated as a god itself by the terrorized population out of fear of a fate worse than death. Because, after all, until now, everything we found suggested that we were dealing with a plague or disease of some sort. But after all, what sort of pathogen changes the terrain of the afflicted areas while recreating various stuff in white cam? If Darkwood was to be a puzzle for every piece we found, 2 more are taken away. and to find them, we must continue playing. From this side we can enter the church, and since Rotting Man already broke the ice, there's no point in avoiding human interactions anymore. But he's gone, and I don't know if for a bug or anything, but I'm not gonna complain. Inside, the charred remains of the building cracks under our feet. The walls are soaked in nihilism more than Jim Carrey. Behind the altar, we see a trapdoor, but it's locked. Looking for clues, we turn around when a line of people appears. Some are sleeping on the benches, but the great majority are waiting to enter the church basement, trying to seek refuge from all the dangers hiding in the woods. And we, unfortunately, know very well that these people, instead of finding shelter from the horrors hiding in these woods, went straight into one. Looking for a way inside, we try to open the crate nearby, but it only contains a bobby pin, which becomes particularly handy since there's only one locked door. Inside the room, we find a half-broken axe and a peculiar black box. It's totally black and decorated with incisions that almost resembles a monster's face. Little did we know, something doesn't want us to take that. The monster, while attacking us, screams about a white dress and a black box for his 2 little girls. I'm not gonna lie, I got my ass beaten, but I mean he's dodging my attack, look at him! Man, I need some copium. When Darkwood Man awakens, we see Wolfman inside our hideout.
Mate, what's with the big eyes? Scared? Bad dream?
Buddy, you have no idea what's coming to you in the other scenario. Anyway, besides my foreshadowing, something wacky just occurred because an object we found in a dream is still in our possession. Not only that, but we can also show it to the wolf.
Oh, it's one of these. An interesting find, mate. Guess now you want to know what's inside, huh? Somewhere in the southwestern part of the old wood lies a place where you'll find a key to this box. And mate, I will be careful if I were you. Trust me, you don't wanna open it by yourself. Bring me the key. I don't try to be a wise guy. You won't know what to do with it.
What is it we have found in the church? And most importantly, why is it still in our pockets? There is only one way to find out, and it involves going into that creepy-ass church. But tomorrow, because it's kinda late, you know, and also we haven't looked at this new place. To be fair, there's a lot of juicy stuff in here. We got a ton of mushrooms, gun parts, flares, a campsite magazine, and a note titled Number 3 Desertion.
Who the hell are they assigning to us? Piotrek fucked off from the shack. The whole night he was rambling about somatic. I think it is his younger son. I don't know if it was the boredom or stress that got him, but it was fucking unbearable. It was the 3rd night in a row.
The letter continues telling how one night in particular, his whining got so strong that the writer had to close himself in his own sleeping bag. But at his awakening, Piotrek wasn't there anymore. He had left, taking all of his equipment. A radio, water, a handgun, and even a flamethrower. Everything except the hazmat suit. The letter then ends with a half-readable sentence, which I'm pretty sure says, I hope he doesn't come back at night. There is simply a lot to unpack here, so let's start by the simple things. The title, Desertion, along with other stuff like guns, radio, and a flamethrower, will suggest a military presence. After all, these things, both the equipment and the language, aren't something that a civilian would use or not even have access to, or at least not in this part of the world. Because remember, this game takes place in Poland in the late 80s and not in, I don't know, Colorado or something. A military presence in the area would explain a lot of things, like all the hideouts with ovens ready to be used, Darkwood Man's ability to craft and shoot, as well as the trader and his unique outfit. Perhaps he was one from the army who for a reason or another got infected. Maybe he could have also been from our old group given how kind he is towards us. But if anything, this leaves us with a single question. Why the hazmat suit? Is this plague airborne? Well, I mean, there are more questions like why someone become a chomper or a savage Why someone else gets so fucked up like the trader and the wolfman? What the fuck is going on here? The church looks even more ominous during the day. Where the napping man was, now we find the remains of a cow surrounded by hieroglyphs. As for the guy telling everyone to get in line, now he's not at the entrance, but instead sitting in front of the altar and deliriously reciting the same rhyme over and over. Until we get closer.
A red one, coward. Faith, go under the floor where you belong.
The trapdoor is still locked, but luckily, or doomingly, the answer to our problem comes right away.
9190. And kiss them for me.
But why is he calling us a thief? Maybe the nightmare where we took the box wasn't a nightmare at all, but rather an hallucination. A literal mushroom trip, and the chomper that attacked us was this man trying to secure his possessions. Well, I mean, it's either that, or I'm gonna get my own C-tier TV show because I'm a wither. Anyway, before going down in the basement to kiss them for him, whatever that means, we take a look around. What can I say? Free reputation! We got a welder, a shower blade. By the way, I paid 4 lanterns and a half, and an electronic toy, which can be given to the wolf in exchange for a handgun, or to Piotrek for reputation. Basically, the game is telling us to be less passive, and since we are already pretty active, it's time to go down. We're down, but not a single voice can be heard, only echoes of distant grunts. Soon we see why. In every single bed are lying the mutated remains of those who came down here seeking refuge, now reduced to empty shells. Some of them will explode upon contact, envenoming our protagonist, while others are ready to split open. But what dictates this difference in mutation? Well, that's something we will discover in about 6 hours of. Predictably, no one in the basement survived, and at the end of the whole deal, inside a wardrobe, we find a twisted key. And if you're lucky, it's what the wolf was rambling about. But reputation-wise, it was a complete fiasco. Anyway, time to cook up everything we got from these poor souls who succumbed to the plague. And the second ability I choose is Scream, because I am an independent man, and if I choose to let out my frustration with my voice, it's none of your business. But once again, we drift into a mushroom-induced nightmare. We are now in the middle of a forest. The path continues without much changes. It really seems like we are in a normal forest, but after a bit, we hear someone or something. Thankfully though, it's just the napping man from the church.
Oh, I wasn't expecting this. You look tired. Come lie with me. Feel the soil. The tree hums so calmly. They sing so beautifully. Can you hear it?
The whispers become stronger and stronger until we get the possibility of lying down. Story-wise speaking, it doesn't absolutely change nothing wherever you choose to lay down or not. And that's because a chompers arrive out of nothing to beat your ass until you wake up. So, to keep my kiddie up, I choose to lay down. And when we wake up, we find an insect in our pocket, pretty much confirming that what happens in a dream is, to a certain degree, reality. At this point of the game, there really isn't much that we can do except finding the wolf to see if we can finally get something out of him. But before that, I would like to visit a couple of places that we still haven't had the pleasure to see. The first one is called Creepy House, but it's locked and inaccessible, and that's because this place is tied to the musician's quest. And we'll see it later on in the what if part of the video. The second one is called The Hunter's House. In the moment we open the door, our ears are flooded by grunts caused by the many chompers infesting this place. After cleaning one side of the house, we find a hunting trophy that has the animal's head missing, along with fine pieces of fabric, an AK-47 mag, and a photo, probably taken by the hunter himself, depicting a big dog, which I'm sure is basically one of the many we've already game ended. Meanwhile, in the other side of the house, tangled in a copious amount of roots, we find a body carrying a simple wedding ring. The other thing that you may have noticed is the high amount of stuffed animals. And I could sort of understand a sphinx or a wolf, like, oh, me human, me kill the beast, me strong. But dogs, and please, hear the S at the end. I'm starting to feel that this hunter dude didn't hunt for hunger or, self-sustainability, but rather to please his own psychotic mind. And this place led me to talk about sound design, because in this game it's simply amazing. Despite most tracks being reused in different locations, they seem purposely crafted for that given situation. The soundtrack simply and masterfully suits the game in the art style, not only accompanying them, but also enhancing the horror that unfolds in front of our very own eyes. And I know that from the songs there is playing right now nearby the hunter's house, you can tell that we are in immediate danger. Anyway, it's late, time to... You know the drill, man, just go to sleep. It's time to meet the wolf in the north-something part of the old woods. In our journey, we stumble upon a road. Trees are growing out of it, and walls of wood block both ends. Nothing special, but just a little bit to its side, we find the place we were looking for. And how do I know that? Well, listen. The place is predictably overrun by every type of dog known to mankind, big, normal, wounded, and pregnant. Yeah, you heard me right. Pregnant. And I know who's the degenerate responsible for this, but I better not say it out loud. It was the wolf. After a bit of population control, we see a body on a couch. Upon further examination, we discover that stuffed. A nearby door leads us into some sort of house. Red lights bulb scarcely illuminate the room. Ha! A real Discord mode setup indeed. But before he starts talking about how engaging One Piece gets after 132 episodes, we take a look at the room behind him. Inside, we find the remains of the pretty lady. But against all odds, she's just sleeping with some ketchup splattered all over. So, snouter-looking man, what do you want?
Comrade.
The wolf make a quick sleep and, bouncing against me with his swollen belly, he puts his paw on my shoulder. He ostentatiously licks his face.
What a gift you have given me.
I notice fresh blood stain on his fur and feet. Streaks of saliva are dripping onto my coat. He leans towards me as if he wanted to say something to my ear.
Now we can either push him away or accept his love. And man, I love being hacked by psychopaths.
The wolf firmly hugs me.
Comrade Meat, what will I ever do without you? You're not such a worthless piece of carcass as you look. Thanks to you, I feel fulfilled. I got my lady back. Hard to believe the same blood flows through the veins of the bitch urbex of chickens. Here, no need to thank me. Now, since that part of the deal is behind us, I'll help you recover your stupid key. I will take you back to the doctor's house. I'm sure you'll find some clues on how to reach him. You two will have a little chat, you will get what you lost, and then nothing will keep you from getting the fuck out from my part of the woods. Do you get me, Meat? You will pack your bags, dive into that stinking hole of yours, and dish a fucking beer.
And the wolf hands over a hunting rifle. It's made. So lastly, we give him the twisted key. Only that this time he doesn't react angry or offended, but rather euphoric. So much so that he snatches the key out of our hands. Surely it will contain something amazing, right? No. Inside there were only some sketches and a shiny stones. Which is amazing, because usually this sort of metallic boxes are filled with weight. The drawings are simple and visibly made by a child, or me. But despite their funky appearances, these sketches reveal a deeply tragic story. The first drawing shows a family composed by a dad, 2 daughters, and a dog, all of them chilling while birds fly high in the sky. Yeah, that is a bird. The second shows the dog, and since this doggo it's gonna be a key character, let's call it Princess. In the third sketch, Princess is peacefully sleeping 7 feet on the ground after she took a bite out of the dead. What can I say? Rest in peace, Princess. Just like Charred Man, you will never be forgotten. But don't let tragedy distract you, because that is starting to show some strange signs, perhaps due to the infection. The fourth oil painting shows the 2 little girls playing on a red swing, a swing that we already saw. The fifth drawing shows a house on fire, pretty much confirming that this place was the one that we saw in Dry Meadow. The sixth drawing shows the 2 little girls and their father waiting in line to enter the basement church. As for the last drawing, it doesn't need words. Well then, time to visit the doctor's house. The wolf basically teleports us to what looked like a swampy area. Some tire tracks on the ground serve as guide towards the right direction. After some meters, we see the first building. It's only half of a cottage facing onto an ocean of roots where the other half of the building fell in. But this small ruin, it's nothing when compared to a massive shed inside the doctor's property. We can immediately see how the building was fitted with beds to accommodate patients, and some of them still do. And it's when we get nearby the exit of this death-riddled place that we hear a voice.
Where is the doctor? Where? Daddy went out and left. Angry and hungry he was. I'm hungry too. Can't move. Head exploding. And if I move, I'll burst myself.
He's another one of the lads, and he will soon turn into a chomper. On the head and back, we can even see the skin tearing open where the massive mouth is going to be. Right in front of the shed lies the infamous house. The habitation is in complete disarray, but at least there ain't no man with dials instead of eyes. It's kinda obvious that Darkwood man was hallucinating. But if anything, this brings only more questions and doubt, because out of all the twisted things we saw, what was real and what not? Is it only lead? Am I reviewing Cryofear? Do I like to be farted on? Also, do you remember the super cute dog from the prologue? Well, it's mad now, mad and big, meaning that not only is this disease airborne, but it also transmits with bodily fluids. In his office, we find some medical notes that our protagonist refuses to comment, and a picture of a man seemingly fused in a tree. Both of them are pale white, as the copy of the adult we saw not long ago. The picture is dated 12/06/1985, making it a couple of years old. And now, the juice of the question. The reason of our visit. That safe at the center of the room. Because if inside this house there's something useful, something of value, it must be locked inside. Lucky you, I know how to unlock it. Even though I never understood the logic behind it. But basically, you see these wacky circles and numbers? Good. Now, start from the safe and follow those lines. In every circle there's gonna be a number, and the combination will always be made up by the first 4 digits. Why? Inside, we find a rocket toy that literally serves no purpose and has no use in the entire game, since it cannot even be sold, but also a map, with a location of a train wreck marked down, and a note, which contains the code for a sliding door of some sort. The train wreck area is full of carcasses infested by mushrooms, probably the remains of the animals that were cooked by Doc for sustenance. After the code is inserted, the wagon opens. Nearby the entrance we see some sheets and a couple of pillows. In between the cloth we find a picture of a woman holding a child, probably Doc's wife and daughter. The place seems empty, but in the deepest part of the cart, there he is! Slowly crawling away from us.
The doctor is lying against the drinker's wall. His face is covered in sweat. An intense odor of alcohol hangs in the air.
Do not come any closer, you rotten dog! I won't give you the key! Can't you understand I saved your life? You'll be rotting away in the clearing if it wasn't for me! You owe me for fuck's sake!
The doctor moves closer to the wall, grotesquely kicking his legs against the floor.
You think I don't know who you are, rat? I've managed to take a good look at you. Your kind visit us whenever you please. You hide behind the trees, watch us from a distance, and then disappear. You have no idea how it is to live here. This place, these woods, everything's fucked up here. I won't take it anymore, do you understand me? I won't bear the look of those deformed, reeking bodies anymore, nor the cry of those wretched villagers. First, they begged for help, now I need to hide from them. I'm just an ordinary doctor. How the hell was I supposed to help them? How?
The doctor goes silent. His face, now hugging the wall of the train car, looks truly pathetic.
Can you hear it? It's in the walls. They speak to me. My little girl is calling to me. I know she's waiting for me. My little girl is calling me. I know she's waiting for me. I must go back to her. She's so close.
His voice breaks down.
I want to go back home.
I can see panic in his eyes.
Please, this key is my only chance. Help me escape this place. Help me. Or kill me.
You know what, Polish doctor, that for some reason I'm dabbing with a Russian accent? I'll help you. And not only because you're ugly as hell, man, but also because you're starting to hallucinate on your infant daughter, who I'm pretty sure is alive and well somewhere. And so, a plan is born. We will meet the doctor in Dry Meadow to get the fuck out from this place. And if we're lucky, maybe our time spent in here wasn't enough to doom Darkwood man to a mysterious and yet horrible fate. And to maximize our chances of success, I recommend selling everything useless to the trader to buy ammo and medicines.
The man grabs my arm and pulls me closer. A strong smell of mushrooms assails my nostrils. The old sack covering his body slides down, revealing his chest covered in horrid growth. It is fused with the porous helmet pulsating to the rhythm of his breath. I'm starting to feel dizzy. Without loosening his grip, the man raises his left arm, bringing his forearm to my face. It's pale as paper and reads,
"Do not open the door. Let's stick together."
Listen, man, I'm sorry. I love you, but I've been here for 600 hours. My hamster is waiting for me. I'm sorry, man. I'm so sorry. Once at the tunnel, we noticed that the monster that was here is gone. Probably he didn't have enough apples to fight Doc, who in fact is waiting for us. The door hasn't changed since the last time we were here, so there's only one thing to do. Yeah, don't worry about him. Years of forced isolation, cigarettes and alcohol made him pretty slow and weak. And in fact, what's worrying isn't Doc running towards salvation, nor these roots, but rather the white substance oozing from them. Upon investigation, it seems that, and I quote, it flows down the hallway as if guided by some unseen force. Why is the white substance we saw all over the old woods here in the tunnel? And why is it moving towards the exit? Is it trying to infect the rest of the world? Probably. But please, keep in mind this. In Darkwood, for every piece of the puzzle we find, 2 more are taken away. And in this case, what's going to cast another layer of mystery to our story is a person, found yet again by Doc.
I think someone's still moving there, under the rubble.
The man lies in front of Doc, a bit further down in the tunnel. By using a torch, we can tell that there's something wrong with him. He is as white as the goo and the trader. In front of him we find a white, mushroom-riddled cross, described as strange and soft. With a quick glance at the tunnel, we can tell that it has collapsed recently, and suddenly the man snaps to life, as if he was awakened from a deep slumber.
Who goes there?
I hear a faint, unnaturally distorted male voice.
Are you one of them?
The man attempts to get up but fails. As I approach him, he snuffles his leg nervously, as if he's trying to retreat in the collapsed tunnel.
No. Please. I didn't do anything. I beg you, I just wanted to pass, to get back to my family. The trees blocked the only path home. A huge, talking tree. I begged it to let me pass, but it wouldn't listen. I could not understand what it was saying to me, so I came down here. I can't get out. My head hurts.
The man places his hand on his forehead and feels a strange dent above his left brow. He carefully inserts his index finger into the hole. His eyelid twitches.
Oh, my stone. My little stone.
The stranger pushes another finger into the hole. A thick goo spews from the wound. I can hear his skull cracking. The man slowly removes his finger from the hole in his head. A colorless ooze is dripping from them. He's holding a round object.
Then the man throws the object at us, and it's a bullet. But just like the wacky cross is pale white and soft. And even weirder, after the man threw it, he fainted on the ground. As if, for a brief moment, he remembered what ended his game. And I know that it's simply a lot to digest, but it's about to become even more. God damn it, Doc is running away! Near the pile of debris, we find a passage leading north. Just behind the reinforced door, we find a body carrying a rusty and broken bell, probably pierced by the bullets which came from the military guarding this place. This area of the tunnel is pitch black, roots descend from the ceiling as if they were trying to reach the water flooding the passage. But despite the forgotten look of the tunnel, we're not alone. And, as if it wasn't enough, something is studying us from under the water. After a panic run, we find yet again a sleeping man. But this time, it's different. It seems like the man started to sleep for natural reasons. If it wasn't for two details. The first one is a cross with a shiny stone tied to it, basically like many we saw. But why is so similar in shape and dimension to the wacky one we found earlier? It could just be a coincidence, right? Yeah, it could be, but it isn't. And what makes it far worse than a coincidence, far worse than knowing that the army is out there killing everyone who came in touch with these woods, animals, or even air, is a hole. A small, stupid, and unnoticeable hole located on the body's forehead, as if someone shot him. Perhaps while he was trying to reach his family. But it doesn't matter right now, because, can you see it, the light? The exit is near, that's why I can hear it running on its wheels! It's mine, let's go! We are in a swamp now. The new hideout is massive, and I will say even welcoming if it wasn't for this hobo chilling in the middle of the walkway. But at least he's got an interesting document on it. The note itself briefly talks about a broken compressor and where its spare parts may be, but also about the previously mentioned tree and how it grew twice its size in just a couple of months. Luckily though, the guy also attached a map to its note, so we can see where it is. And here's another peculiar thing. The map is 2 years old. I mean, sure, it can just be another coincidence, but I thought that the exit to one of the most dangerous and highly infectious part of the world would be more heavily guarded as opposed to completely empty. Perhaps, as the men depleted the oxygen, they were all evacuated. Or maybe shot for breathing this accursed air. Who knows? Besides the ominous note, the hideout looks pretty standard. There's an oven, a broken radio, the aforementioned broken compressor, and a metallic door that can't be opened, as well as this crate, which can be opened, but only once we use a source of light to burn this dark cam, which in itself is a great tutorial for a new mechanic that we are going to re-encounter pretty soon. Anyway, The sun is blasting upon us since it's currently 8 AM, despite us entering the tunnel at like 11, so it's the perfect time to check this so discussed tree. And to be honest guys, I've been here for like a quarter of an hour and I really love this place. Lots of sun, free sources of dysentery, many insects that are drinking my blood all at once. It's perfect, and most importantly, our destination is inside the village, so if we're lucky, we maybe find someone else to chat with, since Doc completely dropped us. At the entrance of the village, we're greeted by a mountain of sleeping people. That is, until they're not sleeping anymore. From the pile of death emerges an amalgamation of bodies, but don't worry guys, after all it's human, so we're good. Although it's really strange, shouldn't we have been at the exit? And if so, why are these abominations here? Maybe the woods are trying to stop us from escape, or perhaps it's just an isolated case. The unfortunate combination between a deadly event in the village and the weird capabilities of the woods. After all, we've seen in the intro and all throughout the game this half animal, half human creature splashed on the ground. I mean, even Wolfman himself. But if anything, this raises even more doubts. But when you're assaulted by confusion, just start stealing some shit. Listen, I know you'll call me a kleptomaniac, but it worked! Look who I just found while looking for catalytic converters. Darkman!
You again? What do you want? Want to put me in front of a firing squad?
The doctor's notes ironically hiding his irritation.
I'm not going anywhere with you. I'm too close. I can hear her, just as if she was standing beside me. My later. I'm sure someone is waiting for you too. Anyway, chit-chatting with him, we discover many interesting things. For first, he tells the villagers broke through the wall of trees and set up a camp at the old quarry in the south something zone of the swamp. Then, he informs us about underwater passages being present all over the swamp and how he fell into one of them almost drowning. And lastly, something happy. Oh wait, did I say happy? I meant nihilist. You know, I used to come here to treat people. I pulled out Keith milk teeth, delivered babies, and then came the disease I've never heard of. I was the only doctor in the area. You cut us off from the outside world. First you, then the woods. No help from anyone. Last time I came here was 3 or 4 years ago. Then the trees blocked the path. It's different now. The fields are flooded. Everyone in the village is dead. So much work for nothing.
Then he just throws a racist tantrum.
I've realized something. It came to me when we were walking through the tunnels. You're like a disease. You and your kind.
The doctor takes a step back, as if he was afraid of me. At the same time, a sinister smile appears on his face.
You don't belong to this land. You weren't here when the forest was born. You're a splinter, a foreign body, a vagabond. And them, the forest and everything else, these are the antibodies, even the morons from the village, raging white cells in an infected bloodstream. That's the reason you hide from us. Logical, isn't it?
You know what? Fuck you, Doc. I really hope nothing bad happens to you now that we are almost out of the woods. Also, now he will be available for trading. And when I say trading, I mean that he gave us an object of our likings. So, thanks, you racist piece of shit. I'll take the embryo. Now let's put aside our love for Doc, because we still have to find that goddamn tree and rob this entire village in the process, starting from this bag nearby him. A map leading to holes. Both from Doc's word and the little we saw, it's clear that all the villagers passed the expiration date. I mean, the is literally beaten into pieces, all houses are wrecked, plants and vines are growing everywhere, even on the bodies and the few carriages that there are. Perhaps not to reach the sun for photosynthesis, but rather to prevent the poor chaps from escaping. And also, do you remember the Black Hand mechanic earlier? Now it's where it comes into play. Look at my boy here, thinking he's Black Goku. The black goo prevents us from inflicting any kind of damage until we've burned it off. I really recommend stepping into a puddle. This will, yes, slow you down, but along with the enemy, only that he gets slightly slower than us. So, it's a goddamn piece of cake, isn't it? No, it isn't. This is another new enemy. The game refers to him as Swamper. Basically a big muscly lizard that lives in the water and that will absolutely spank our asses if we fight one in its territory. The best tactic will be to, run away from the water, but if such highly technological maneuver is impossible to achieve, well, just shoot it, I don't know. Anyway, besides these new Lovecraftian creatures, I love how even after all the horror that unfolded, you can perceive the simpler and rural life that the people here used to have, a life more dependent on nature and its resources, but most importantly, on the people surrounding you. Because a small village is a well-oiled machine, and when one of its pieces breaks or acts wrongly, the entire thing collapses. And when it happens, the consequences are far worse than anyone could have possibly imagined, especially when all around the woods, nature, and everything that allowed everyone to live are changing into something that no one can understand. Inside one of the many apparently normal houses, the word thieves was carved everywhere, even on an old photograph representing 3 boys, probably the ones accused of thievery. Continuing our exploration, we find a ton of resources as well as 2 more houses that receive the same treatment as the one previously mentioned. But aside from these little useful things, we don't find much else except a map with the location of a burnt cottage. But in one of the many huts, there seemed to be someone alive. But inside the room there only is a bed with a body laying on it and a white inanimate figure standing by their side. Also, this is the 3rd time that I noticed this. In a big chunk of the places we explored there always was these white cracks releasing spores in the environment, and coincidentally our vision of the place changes, as if the spores are causing some kind of hallucination that led to think that everything all around you is perfectly fine. The search for the tree takes us into a particularly big house, which can be used to avoid the many dead ends caused by the rubbles, but while walking, we hear a voice.
Who's there?
Is that another non-existent airline? Love it.
Wait, bloody hell, you're alive?
The old man extends his hand, blindly trying to reach me.
You're not from around here, eh? You cannot be. All the lads are dead. It's only me. Me and...
He finds my arm and grabs it. For a moment, he clutches my hand in silence. I feel his long fingernails digging into my hand. The old man suddenly jumps up.
What? What are you saying? Ain't no fucking tree that. It looks like a tree with those faces. I know buggers. Every single one of them. So close and so fake. They're not real. They're not. From time to time, I thank God I went blind. I don't have to look at them.
The old man let go of my hand to lean against the broken back of the chair. He sighs with relief.
It disgusts me. It fucking disgusts me. This buggery, this fucking scum, all the time. To listen to its pathetic blabber, complaining all the time, as if I were supposed to believe it's human, that it's me, my Zuka. Yeah, right.
He suddenly reaches toward me with both hands, almost falling out from the chair. He grabs onto my sleeve. I feel all of his weight on me.
You lad, you got your hands and legs, strong arms. I beg of you, get rid of that filth from my village. I can't bear another day of that abomination, wailing and sobbing. I want to die in peace.
The objective becomes suddenly clear. We must destroy the big talking tree. An old man also gives us an advice on how to do it. Due to its enormous size, it's impossible to damage it from the outside, so we must use a nearby basement to reach its roots. And I quote,
destroy them, pull them, drag them, twist the fuck out of them, you'll find a way.
Well, pretty straightforward if you ask me, but before we visit the tree, I would like to know a bit more about everything. So let's start with the picture of the road home. His reaction is pretty in line with everyone else, and understandably so. When you spend your whole life surrounded by trees and huts, or you're a fairy, the sights of big concrete buildings and people can be a bit too much to bear. But even so, considering everything that's occurring all around us, is a very strange answer. But the real TikTok prank reaction comes when we show the photo of the three boys.
Upon seeing the photo, the cripple cringes with disgust.
These ruffians, sons of a thief. There were 7 of them. The mother took the 4 youngest ones when the hunger struck. The other 3 stayed with the father. They were weak and sickly.
So the area suffered a famine not long ago. Well, at least this will explain the ration stamp we found in one of the hideouts. I mean, which is sort of a shame because it would have been way more useful here, since, as old man says,
one day the father got into his head that they're getting smaller ration because we've written off.
His hands start to tremble.
So he went with a group of people to rob us of our food in the night. They broke into the basement. It didn't end well.
Strange stories. Strange stories coming from a strange man, and as we continue speaking, things only get even more stranger. The old man tells how it used to be different here until trees started sprouting up everywhere. And weirdly, it is right after the forest grew that the water flooded all the crops, turning what was a place similar to dry meadow into a swamp. Which is strange. Very strange, because trees should prevent occurrences such as flooding, not only because they use the water for their things, but also because the roots create spaces and gaps in the soil, helping the water flowing underground. And it's not everything, because after the wood appearances, the old man started to notice some people acting strange. After thanking the old man for his in-depth Silent Hill analysis that you should definitely watch, we start going towards this so-mentioned tree. And well, they weren't joking.
The tree is gigantic, its bark stays in constant motion, it swells up and collapses into itself as if breathing. I see a man's silhouettes growing out from the tree trunk, they're also moving, as if gesturing in slow motion. Dozens of mouths repeat their lines simultaneously, creating a uniform noisy murmur. Between the both, I catch a man gaze.
That man is the only one out of dozens of people that acknowledges our presence. But unfortunately, due to the immense noise produced by the others, it is impossible to hear what he's saying. So now we get 3 options. Well, 4 if you consider leaving. Kick the tree, hoping that the voices will go silent. Try to climb the tree. Look at the lips of the person talking to me. Kicking the tree will result in absolutely nothing except new nightmares and a small branch broken by our incredible force. Only that after this tree, Darkwood man hears some voices coming from beneath his feet.
It hurts. It's the face of a man who has grown into the roots. He's completely covered in bark. His lip barely stick above the mud, and his right arms resemble branches. One of them is broken into the elbow. The stump bleeds a white, gooey substance. Instead of seeping down, it flows upwards, forming a new arm.
A white, gooey substance. Perhaps it's even the same that we saw in the tunnel, or coming out from broken trees, or even resembling people or buildings. What is this gooey substance, and why it literally seems to be everywhere? I don't know, man. Too many questions. Let's climb this shit.
The bark is slimy and soft. Its creases move away from my shoes and hands. I feel the arms that protrude from the root tugging at my clothes. I barely break free from the grasps. Climbing up is out of the question.
We can only hope to make out something by looking at this person's lip. Unfortunately though, his altitude makes it really hard to understand what he's saying, but one of the words seemed to be radio. Nice! I got one too! But mine is broken. So now that we are simply defeated in the soul, we check out the nearby cell. The basement is dark, and pretty much like everywhere else, the tree and roots are growing in the vast majority of the area. The furthest we adventure in the cellar, the darker it gets, until, near a puddle of some sort, someone starts speaking. Is it possible that even down here some poor souls got fused to the roots forming the floor? Very probable, since once we get nearby a hole in the ground, Darkwood man's feet sink in the quaggy floor, as if, and I quote, someone was holding me by the ankles. But the underwater passage is too long. We need an oxygen tank to get through. Same thing for the burnt cottage. Once we get back to Crippleman for suggestions, he informs us of the existence of a family of elephants.
Yeah, we have these elephants here, you see. They live here in the swamp. Their hut is in the thicket, in the flooded forest. They have these oxygen tanks. Lots of them tanks. And if the basement is flooded, you could use an oxygen tank, eh?
The objective becomes even more clear. We must find an air tank and the spare parts for the compressor, so I can use the pressurized lung juice to cross the basement and destroy the tree. Good. But guess what? Tomorrow, because it's getting late and we gotta survive our first night in the swamp. Do you remember what I said like 3 hours ago? Yeah? Well, it's the same. Enemies will destroy everything on their path to reach us, but honestly, by now you're an absolute unit of a person that can face everything that dare to cross you. So if you want to survive the night, it's up to you. I'll say do it, so you can experience all the wacky shit that happens. Like tonight, when the radio on the ground, despite being broken, started to emit sounds. Most of the sounds are rubbish. The only understandable sentence is, "Come back to us." Who is speaking from the other side of this broken radio? Is the command center trying to contact us? Or maybe these are weird flashbacks from back when Darkwood Man was stationed in this hideout? Or there is a third option here. Darkwood Man was exposed to everything this forest had: spore, bites, and juices. So now even him is hearing the call towards the dark and unknown forest, towards something that humanity can't even begin to comprehend. Something that will have us. Unless we're faster. The night passes without many problems, and just like that, we are at... They're the swamp's trader, the tree. They always stay silent while giving nightmares, so don't worry, it's perfectly normal being creeped out by the Lovecraftian group. Honestly, we don't really need anything now, but I do love big numbers, so I'll sell the shit anyways. Before doing anything stupid though, I really wanna see what's up with these holes. Unfortunately, these holes are on the other side of the map, but as we start our pilgrimage toward a very vague destination, we see that a body appeared on the ground. The man is wearing what seems to be a heavy coat with a hood. A body of a man wearing a helmet. His head has been severed. I know what you're thinking, and yes, it's him. Our love and life. Our day and our night. The trader. Well, at least he's gonna have some interesting loot, right? Nope. Well, yes. But let's just say that it is not what you expect. In his pockets we find a seemingly moldy and pale white key for Tunnel 21 and an empty diary with the same mushroomy textures. And also his head, in which someone scratched the word liar on the visor. But I mean, this would be the least strange thing in all of this, because if you remember, the first time we met him, Darkwood Man noticed how the helmet seemed an integral part of its body, and it does look like he was right. The neck and the internal part of the helmet are fused together in an amalgamation of meat, blood and white goo. The same white goo that we saw basically everywhere and that now is flowing out of this man's head. Perhaps I was wrong and he's not an old mate who got infected. If anything, it's another proof that whatever's happening goes well beyond every thought that we formulated. But from this mental void, a light starts to shred the obscurity casted by all the events that so far unfolded. And that light is a mere question. What if this white cam is replicating shit? Yeah, I know it sounds crazy, but we just talked to a guy made out of white juices and saw a tree craft a new arm out of the same substance, as well as a spider made out of humans. Which means that the trader, with his similar features to ours, is, or at least was, nothing more than a white good copy of Darkwood Man. And sure, it is an interesting theory, but it still wouldn't explain why some people go apeshit. But at least in this mountain of doubts, in this fog of mysteries, we, for a second time, got a a light of hope. Because if there was something that the trader always said was that there was no exit from these woods. Something that apparently is untrue, which costed him his life.
But enough of this, I want holes. We have to check this holes out. Walking through the swamp is a charm. Good visibility, a lot of resources, and even holes giving out free meat. That is, until a new threat emerges from the depths of those holes, and it looks like a person but with a claw instead of an arm.
Once these abominations are downed, their head crawl away along with the claw, as if that parasitic entity was using the human body as a mere shell.
Not far away from the accursed hole, we spot what seemed to be the beginning of a dense and dark thicket, and if luck runs on our side, this could be the place where those elephants live. The small forest is absolutely shrouded in darkness, which supposedly should make us anxious, but to be honest, I got so much firepower from the old chapter expecting a boss fight, and I'm also finding a ton of ammo all around, that by now the ones who are scared are the monsters. Look at this fella, he's so fundamentally scared that he forgot how physical barriers work. In the few patches of land that are submerged, a few petals lie on the ground, almost marking a path, which in itself is a pattern we already saw. The petals lead to a house surrounded by a barricade made out of furniture and barbed wire. On the other side of this handmade barrier, there's another path to follow, only that this time isn't made out of petals, but of bear traps. And well, what can I say? Thank you for the free resources. Inside the house, we can see some footprints on the ground, meaning that hopefully the occupants of the house still live in it. In fact, they do! Unsuccessfully try to open the door, someone starts speaking from the other side.
Hey, you! What are you looking for here? You're not from that goddamn village, are you? Prove you're a good man. Fix that generator, and I'll open the door.
Fair enough, lady, I just stole every single one of your defensive measures, so fixing the generator is the least that I can do. As promised, once we fix the generator, the occupants open the door. As the piece of furniture slides open, it reveals 3 people, simply called elephants.
But of course, and as always, it's not as simple as it looks, because 2 out of the 3 people now standing in front of us are children. Both of them hiding behind who presumably is their mother. Given the state of the house, it is clear that they haven't left it in years. The house is filled with rot. Flies are feasting onto the coat of the woman, eating the dirt accumulated in years. Her gas mask, now covered in moss, is held together by tape.
Who are you? Can't you speak? Did someone take away your voice?
2 children hide behind the woman. The younger one eyes me nervously, cowering in fear. The older one just stands there, motionless.
You're not from around here. I would have recognized you. We may keep to ourselves, but I know everyone here. I would never forget your mug.
The younger child still watches us like we're God descended on Earth. Considering their reclusive nature, it could be that Darkwood man is the first outsider they saw in years, maybe since they can recall. Or, considering how we looked in the pig shed, what's more probable is that those children aren't looking at us in amusement, rather in complete shock and terror. And the next sentence, pronounced by their mother, pretty much confirms it.
Your gob looks like that because of this fiendish air, do you know? I bet you can't speak because you didn't keep your mouth shut when walking through the woods.
The lady continues to tell how the devil that lurks in these woods gets to us through our mouth and nose.
And she may be right, because if you remember, in the old woods we found a note from an army guy, and even him mentioned the use of hazmat suits. So, it's in the air, maybe spreaded by the very same spores we saw all around. It could very well be. But then again, why some people wander off in the woods or become savages, while others are changed into incomprehensible and twisted creatures? For now, I cannot tell you. But if there's something that I can share, is that the swamp hides all the answers. We simply need to let the game tell its story.
After throwing a tantrum, screaming that she doesn't trust anyone who breathes this air, the mother, while staring intensely at us, asked a very peculiar question.
Did you take my Masanek? Was it you who kidnapped him? No, that cannot be.
The woman stares at the floor. Her greasy black hair drops down on her mask.
It's impossible. Stupid child. He went out and never came back. He was on about how his granny will take him mushrooming. I have no idea where he... I told him that the devil will find him, take off his mask and take him away. I would look for him, but...
She lowers her head even more, as if observing the dead flies stuck to her coat.
You want my trust? Bring my Masenek back. My stupid Masenek. Find him and bring him home.
If the old man is right, these people got a lot of tanks. And while chatting with the woman, we discover that these tanks were given to her by the fourth and elder son, that is now missing by some time. Didn't the old man at the village said how the three ruffians had for brother? Is the mother of the thief standing in front of us right now? It may very well be, and from her reaction to the picture of the three boys, we understand that theirs wasn't a happy separation. But on the positive side of things, when we show the picture of the road home to the woman, she tells that she used to walk it every day to go to school, and judging by her hypnotized look, we can see that she misses the outside world, the normal world. Before we set out to look for her child, she gives us the key of Marcinek's room, saying that recently he was spending a lot of time in there, and then proceeds to smack the shit out of an older son because he started reciting a lullaby. Inside the boys' room, we find some drawings depicting people with mushrooms all over their bodies, as well as a house surrounded by massive mushrooms, and under a rug, we also find a hidden map with an approximate location. Hopefully, it's where the boy went. At least now we got a lead, and coincidentally, the place is nearby the halls, so we can continue with our normal traveling. But just outside the house barricade, we find someone that we weren't expecting to see.
This land hides more secrets than your little fucking rat brain is capable of understanding.
The doctor digs through the mud. I think he's looking for something.
Deep underground, there's a current of electricity. Fucking electricity!
He starts flailing his arm wildly, throwing pieces of mud everywhere around him.
Then it flows underground from tree to tree.
The doctor suddenly freezes, staring at me with his arm midair.
And he powers everything, he connects it all. If I had a light bulb, if I just created it onto one of these branches, he would light it up. I bet he fucking would.
Nah, Doc. I wish that was true, man. At least I would be paying $50 for a rusty half-dead battery, you crazy moron. But to be fair, this man has seen his fair side of shite, and in addition to that, what he's saying doesn't appear to be bollocks. Especially because we saw radio equipment doing wacky things, going as far as calling us directly. I gotta be honest with you, it's becoming sort of scary, especially because if what he's saying turns out to be true, then it means that whatever is behind every horror that is unfolding in these woods is calling us into the darkest and deepest region of the woods, just like he's currently doing with him.
I haven't slept a wink in many days. Don't think this is good for me. I hear this voice all the time. Can you hear it? Her heavenly voice.
He steps towards me and lowers his voice.
I'm a bit fed up with her, a little tiny bit. She must know I'm heading her way. I'm doing everything I can. I don't eat, I don't sleep. I search under every rock, under every fucking bush. She must understand it. She must give me some time, some little time off. Tell her this, will you?
At last the dog says that the tree are calling him, but at the same time blocking the way, which for him it's rather confusing to the point where he thinks it could be some sort of test. Then he starts drawing random lines on the ground, and they seem to intersect in random places. The doctor flicks his cigarette into the dirt, stomps on it and drags it on the ground, creating the last straight line. Poor bastard. I mean, he's still willing to trade, but we need holes. So Doc, you better get out of here. The rest of the travel towards this biblical location proceeds well without problems. And exactly like the holes in chapter 1, they're a simple shot. And I say simple, but these things really are a life-saving idea. Like in this very same moment where it was too late for me to be able to get home through normal ways. As darkness falls upon us, we embrace our axe, but weirdly, nothing shows up.
Left with just thought, we take a look around, discovering a weird trail leading into the locked room. Its door is still locked, but the handle is covered in a slimy substance. Despite the probable intruder, the night passes without many problems. Another day in this godforsaken place, but at least we can once again use the holes. Once on the other side, we spot a person laying at the edge of one of said holes. Even after a couple of bullets, the guy didn't move, so thinking it's... Honestly, can be bothered right now. Who's that? Doc! You're never going to believe what I found! God damn it, Doc! I told you no more Darkwood!
Soon, very soon, not long from now.
Slowly, he bends down and grabs a thick branch from the ground. He starts biting the bark off of it. He swallows the bark with an effort, but also great satisfaction. He places the stick among other ones sticking out of his mud-covered head. The doctor succumbed to the plague. He became a savage. What can I say? Could have been worse. At least his head is still intact, but I wonder why, though. Why some people become wood-eating savage, destined to their starvation, because you know, wood, while other chompers, or worse. Anyway, good buddy, you know it better than me. No one needs more savages around. Goodbye. Anyway, time to find the boy. Nearby the marked area, we see how the soil started to change, going from a more natural green to a pale and ominous white. Here and there we can even see people in the same color of the place, and they all seem to speak, repeating the same sentence over and over, all regarding the same thing. When a group of villagers lock themselves in the basement to get more food. In this mushroom glen, other than a white and mushroomy shrine, lies a single house, which of course in itself is strange. Everything inside the cottage is covered with mushrooms. The floor, even though it looks like it's made out of wood, bends under my feet. A white, colorless goo seeps from the ceilings and walls. Enormous white formations resembling mushrooms and poisonous little shit on the ground almost makes it impossible to navigate inside the home. But with enough power of will, we push through, discovering something, to say the least, shocking. An old woman sits down on a weather-rocking chair. Her sleep is deep and peaceful. A handful of ripe mushrooms grows out from beneath her thick hair. If we want, we can pick a couple of mushrooms from the lady's head. They apparently detach with staggering ease, but too many will hinder. So let's wake her up. The old lady slowly opens her eyes. For a moment, she stares into space with an absent gaze. Finally, she becomes aware of my presence.
Wait. You're not.
Her empty eyes now take on a questioning expression.
I didn't expect any guests.
She throws a nervous look at the door on her right, then gazes around the mushroom-infested house. She relaxes a bit.
I suppose you won't tell me what you want, and you want something just standing here in front of me. Right.
Here something unique happens, because after the dialogue, we can either choose to point our finger to the door, leave, or eat the old lady. After we point our finger to the door, the old lady quickly replies,
It's the door to my chamber. There's nothing that would interest you there. Come back when you remember what it is that you want from me.
But the real surprise comes when we show the drawings to her.
A few days ago, a child appeared here. A boy. He thinks I'm his granny.
The old lady stops for a second, trying to remember something.
Grandma? I like when he's around too. He enjoys drawing, although his drawings are not very childlike.
The old lady smiles again, but after she finishes her sentence, she casts a nervous and suspicious look at a small window.
This forest is not a place for children nor old people. It's a place for the likes of you. I saw some villagers through the window yesterday. They were hiding right there. But I have a keen eye despite my years. I saw their hungry, hollow eyes. I know what's on their mind.
I remember in chapter 1 the peasants started chopping down the tree wall because I unintentionally burned to crisp their only way of sustainment. So, is it possible that driven by hunger, the villagers arrived to the swamp while looking for a way out? Yes, it is. And now the hunger,
along with a plague infection, is driving them to despair since their intent is to eat the old lady along with her mushroomy house. The woman politely asks to get rid of the villagers since if they disappear in Francisco Franco style, it will be safe for the boy to return home. Unfortunately, she doesn't know the location, but at least she allows us to scoop her house for clues and whatever else I can fit in my pockets, starting from this shelf, where we find a white, colorless key with a pattern we already encountered in many places. A flowery one, pattern with flowers. Very well, it's time to finish what I started. And I will be honest with you, because besides my show of absolutely unnecessary violence, there isn't anything of any interest going on besides a shit ton of potatoes for some reason and another thing. That shows how really twisted the villagers are. At the entrance of the quarry, pretty much like for the entrance of the village, we find a gutted pig tied to a tree, meaning that also in chapter 1, it was the villagers' work. But why are they doing this? Are they aware of something we just started to grasp, or is it just madness? A simple and rather pathetic attempt to befriend the horrors plaguing this place. Sadly, this question will remain unanswered because, to ensure that none of them will ever get out, we must seal the only entrance and exit to the quarry with a massive boulder, dooming the remaining villagers to starve or turn into abominations. And unbeknown to them, now that pig will serve as their tombstone. Such a happy thought to call it a day because it's getting late. I mean, you already know the drill. Time to get home. But once again, there's something different. Not a single enemy presents to our door. Perhaps something momentarily scared them away. Taking a look around, we don't see any discernible difference, except for one thing. The metal door that was always closed, and that was recently covered in slime, is now open. The room only appeared to be filled by garbage, until, nearby a corner, our presence spooked something. Something is lurking in the shadows. As our eyes adjust to the darkness, we see what produced that monstrous noise.
I'm sorry.
From beneath the mask, I can hear a horribly distorted, resounding voice of a child.
Very sorry. I didn't know you were living here.
The figure tries to turn its head, but its enormous neck makes this task impossible to complete.
I didn't want to disturb you, mister. I just want to hide. I don't know this part of the woods. Everything here is different, and this we have here seems so cozy and safe. But please, let me stay. Please, don't chase me off. I've got nowhere to go. The villagers don't allow me to live in the camp. I promise I won't play anymore. I'll be quiet. You can cover me with something if you don't want to look at me.
You know what? It goes against everything I ever believed in, but I'm gonna let you stay. I mean, let's be real for fuck's sake. We caused all of this. We gave the key to the wolfman instead of him. And we killed the saw, causing the villager to fear starvation to the point where they broke the wall of trees. So I wonder, what if... Yeah, I know, but please, listen to me. This needs to be done if we want to understand what the fuck is happening here. So, come on, let's go.
Yes, you're amazing, Mr. Sir. Thank you.
The boy shuffles his leg. He's visibly excited, but also seems uncomfortable.
Sir, now I have the key, but don't have the courage. She's too beautiful, my pretty lady. Just look at this feeling, mister. She will laugh at me. And it's her I always play for.
God damn it, I'm already sick and tired of this boy. Basically, he wants us to retrieve a violin that is currently being kept by his mother, who is apparently angry with him, and I really wonder why.
Could you please convince her to borrow it to me? I'll give you a card with drawings for her to apologize. When she gets it, she will surely stop being angry and she will borrow us the violin. It's behind the wardrobe. My mommy always hides it there. Please, sir, bring me this violin. You are not afraid of anything. Anyway, there's nothing to be scared of.
At this point, the boy fucks off into the woods, telling that he will wait us at the old church. And after all, we saw how he knew about its existence.
Inside the previously closed house, we find a half-dead man.
Pale, withered skin, hollow eyes, teeth black as night. He looks dead alright, but he's still moving.
It unfortunately seems that his parents succumbed to the plague, and a deeper exploration of the house only further confirms this idea. Since in the very last room of the habitation, we find the mother of the boy in a similar state to the father. It seems like both of them are waiting for something before letting go. Perhaps they want to see their son one last time before departing. So as it should, we leave the drawing next to his mother, and from behind the wardrobe, we get the beautiful violin that the boy requested. As promised, we find the musician in the graveyard next to the church. He's playing his violin right in front of a marriage-sized tomb, as if he already knows what happened to his parents. When we interact with the boy, he simply stops playing and lowers his head. But in the moment we give him the violin, he's filled with joy.
Gee, you did it? This is my mom's violin. This is so beautiful. Was she happy about the drawing? Is she feeling well?
The kid stared at the violin with bated breath.
You know what? Good for him. After all the misery we have endured, a bit of happiness, it's really what we need. And maybe even for the pretty lady, this could be a happy ending.
The boy tells that if we want, we can pay a visit at his parents' house, but most importantly, he also took an appointment with the doctor. When we get to the train wreck, the doors are unlocked. In the sheets, we find the same torn picture of a woman holding a toddler. But crucially, Doc isn't at the end, and when we realize this, it's already too late. A gas of some type starts filling the air, and with no way out, we succumb to its effect. We just got ambushed.
So you wanted a doctor's appointment, huh? He mentioned you like to make an appointment. As you can see, I found you just in time. Unfortunately, you won't be able to thank him for it.
I can feel the doctor's cold hand grab him at the jaw, twisting my inert head so he can look me straight into my eye.
Luckily me, something went wrong. Your companions have left you and you couldn't handle the woods. I'm not wrong, am I? You had your taste of the local life, huh? Did you enjoy it? Do you want more?
He takes a full syringe out of his pocket.
I'll show you more.
We are now playing once again as the Doctor, only that this time we won't explore his house nor the old woods, but instead his rather tragic past. On the ground we can see Darkwood Man. No matter what we do, he can't be interacted with. The only thing we can do is go deeper and deeper until something appears. First we see Darkwood Man simply standing still, then the carts start taking an unnatural shape as if they start resembling someone's house. After opening a wooden door we see a girl sitting on a bed, but as we enter the next area she starts coughing. As we turn our sight, the girl is laying on the bed in pain while being surrounded by people. A bald man, the chicken lady, and behind them all, Darkwood Man. In the next room, outside of a window, the lady lies now in the same bed, terribly mutated by the plague. After a long corridor, we arrive to another room. The chicken lady is praying in front of a window, all meanwhile the now unrecognizable pretty lady twitches on the bed. We can interact with the medical bag, after which Doc says,
I tied up her hands and legs and gave her a sedative so that she doesn't hurt anyone. That's all I can do for her.
In the next area, the bald man, presumably the chicken lady brother, or the guy we destroyed in the prologue, insults Doc, calling him a charlatan. In the meantime, more and more deformed people appear all around, pleading for help, for something that will stop their pain. Soon enough, those cries start to become insults and threats.
But we know that this isn't Doc's fault. If anything, he did everything in his power to fight the plague. And maybe he even recognized what was responsible for the wave of death and mutations that flooded the village.
If you remember, while looking for the key to the pretty lady room, we found two notes. One that was a simple remedy against flu, but also a second note, which instead of being a recipe to fight symptoms, tried to be a cure for the source a note against intestinal parasites. And he may have been on something since, as we constated, he had a place where he could experiment and plenty of subjects. So we could even dare to say that he had his reason to think that a parasite could be responsible. Yes, and understandably so. The villagers relied on the plagued sow and its piglings for sustenance, going as far as feeding her red mushrooms and the bodies of who perished due to the plague, both to keep her energies up, but also to fuel the aberrant mutation that made her as big as a car and full of meat as the foundation of an Italian building. Plus, without all the bodies, there is less risk of contagion, right? Wrong. Because what the villager did is create the perfect breeding ground for something that will transform their families and friends into bloodthirsty monsters. Also, Darkwood Man in this section is representing the army that instead of giving help, watched everything to understand what the fuck was happening. At the end of the flashback, Doc expresses his frustration and sadness.
You wish this will end, right? You like to get out of here? Maybe now you'll understand how it feels to be locked away, surrounded by deformed, rotting bodies among the cries of those pathetic villagers. How was I supposed to help them? How? First they begged for help, now I need to fucking hide from them.
The doctor falls silent. It feels like whole hours are passing by.
Can you hear it? It's in the walls. They're talking to me. My girl is talking to me. She's calling me. I must go back to her. She's so close.
And perhaps, already showing the first signs of the infection, Doc seemed to hear a voice. The voice of a girl. Maybe it's his infant daughter or could be his wife.
I want to go back home. Show me where to find the exit from this accursed place. Show me where. Where is it? Where?
Probably due to his toxic breath, we once again pass out. I'm happy to announce that for the first time I won't be showing this section because this nightmare is just a sort of metaphor for the interrogation we're undergoing. So, if we survive, we will share the tunnel's location and the second chapter will basically be the same. Meanwhile, if for some reason, which include laziness, we perish, Darkwood Man will share the location to Doc.
You can be proud of yourself, little rat. You just done your first good deed completely unintentionally.
I'm completely paralyzed. I can only follow the doctor exiting the train with my weary gaze. Damn, that boy set me up really good. I hope he received a lot of silverware because I'm going to need some form of retribution for this. And indeed, it does look like things are getting better. There is no eerie music nor sickly breath. But once again, once we open the door, we are reminded of how twisted and sad reality can be. Because in the first room of the house, there is a chomper feasting on a little body. The body of the musician. At the end, his parents let themselves go. They let the plague win over. I do deep in myself believe that the musician parents understood how fundamentally wrong was to kick their son out of the house. And so they waited and waited, resisting the plague to the point where they became nothing more than twitching bodies. And when the drawing was finally delivered, they thought that their son came back to his house to salute his parents for one last time. Basically what they thought is that we were the musician. That's why even when transformed, they refused to attack. Unless we attack first. Why would you do that? Don't do that. But honestly, what makes this even worse is that from the beginning, we knew that the musician's story is a tragic tale and that wasn't gonna end well. And it still isn't over, because for the second time, we need to find the doctor. I strongly recommend before setting out to kill the Wolfman in a video game, or otherwise, since we haven't fulfilled his request, he will steal some of our shit from the workbench in the swamp and challenge us to a mortal duel. But since at this point I'm already 30,000 words in, I'll simply execute him in a video game. And huntingly, on him, besides an AK-47, we find a white, soft, colorless ring. The crossing of the tunnel is basically the same, only that of course the armor door is already open. inside the hideout, in front of the black can box, now there's a box with a hand-rolled cigarette and various items. While outside we find an extinguished campfire with a familiar book inside. But aside that, absolutely nothing.
It really seems like he vanished from the face of the earth. But his sudden disappearance only fuels our curiosity more and more, and so we begin frantically looking for him. But unfortunately our research brings up absolutely nothing, except for a new location. A crash site.
The area is nothing more than an air bubble inside an underwater cave, and soon enough we discover what caused this gap in the walls of trees. Lying destroyed on the ground, there's a military chopper. The only useful loot is found outside in the body of the pilot, who presumably got ejected in the moment of impact. He carries an AK-47 and some ammo.
While inside, we find something that once again reminds us how tragic this world is. Because in the few remains of an unfortunate soul, we find the other half of the torn picture found in the train's cart.
His wife and daughter both perished while being evacuated. The sole reason that drove the doctor to do everything he did, to suffer as much as he did, now lies in that wreck, both reduced to just bones. The only thing that remains to do now is to find him and give him the photo, and maybe at least he'll find some peace. Some time passes, but while walking in front of a location that I still can name, we will find an improvised camp, and there's only one person that could have made it. On the ground we see a pattern made out of circles and lines, something we saw pretty often. The fire was extinguished no long ago, and thanks to our lucky timing, we are able to retrieve something from the ashes. A little sketch where an arrow points under a combine, and a torn page from a journal. Its paper and images are strikingly similar to the ones in our diary, so this could be one of our lost pages. And it reads:
The news was pure garbage, as always. I was only waiting for the spot to digest. We wanted to run. I watched Piotrek before going to sleep. Boring life on leave. In 1 week, I will walk into the woods. It will be my 6th time. This time we're going in from the west. The trip will be exceptionally long. We're taking one of the longest tunnels. It almost reaches to the last zone. Supposedly, it's starting to give under the pressure of the roots, but the job is urgent, so fuck safety. I have no idea how any of this is kept under wraps. Are those perhaps unaware of the fact that we're taking trips under the feet? Maybe they like it here so much that they don't really care. I wouldn't be surprised.
If this page really comes from our diary, then it means the Darkwood man already walked this accursed land many times, yet somehow he understood the desire of the people who want to stay here. It could be that mundane life for him is boring as hell to the point where he cannot stand it, and so he wished to go back in the woods for service. That is, of course, until everything that could go wrong went wrong, and now that repetitive and boring life is everything he wishes to have. And we will get it back after we find Doc. Now, the place position depicted in the sketch is randomly generated, so good luck with it. And also best of thing with a new enemy that you may have already encountered before, but I didn't know how to introduce. They are called Banshee, and are big fucking pigeons. You see a big one? Run. Or you waste a ton of ammo taking out all the smaller ones that Big Mommy spawns. But aside from that, they're meat boys. The thicket behind the harvester is incredibly dark, and made even worse by the insane number of trees. But in the distance, we see a light, shortly followed by a voice. It's the doctor. Don't cry. Once we get too close, the doctor immediately crawls back scared. Sticks protrude from Doc's head. Even without the detailed image of him, we can see that he became a savage and a violent one. And there's nothing we can do except defend ourselves. Unfortunately, even in this scenario, Doc succumbed to the plague. And he will pass away believing his family to be safe, to be alive. And even if we had the opportunity to tell him, he still couldn't have reached his wife and daughter due to his inability to swim. But at least he left something behind, a series of notes, the first of which may contain the fruit of his research on the plagued villagers and what caused their body to rot and change the way they did.
Because at the end of the very first page, we find an unknown insect that seemed to be the mix between a centipede and a cockroach. Something that could have only come out from the depths of the forest where the most incomprehensible things happen. Or it came from a place that is way more closer than we expect, a place where everything afflicted by the plague was concentrated in a single point without any sort of restriction, exactly like an artist that focuses his imagination on a single empty canvas. Because this abomination came out from the soul's stomach, and its larvae or eggs contaminated the food that the villagers were eating, transforming them into bloodthirsty monsters. And with these documents, the Doctor's story ends. The story of a man who, despite all of his problems and desperation, tried to act in the interest of others, which, in a place... I hope everything is gonna be okay, my man. Which, in a place like the Darkwoods, it tells you everything you need to know about a man. Press F in the chat, boys. For real this time. After you subscribe, please. So, where were we? Oh yes, Mushroom Granny has boy, villagers dead, the boy in this timeline is alive and fat, and it was night. Good. Before retrieving the boy, I want to check the flowery house in the village. And if I'm right, the colorless key we found at Granny's house is for this door. The interior of the cottage are from the floor to the ceiling, tangled in roots. And it's pretty hard to say without being poisoned 50 times, but this cottage and the one made out of mushrooms have the same layout. Even the same furniture is placed in the same position. The bed, shelf, even the chair, now surrounded by a myriad of roots, lies in the exact same point. Inside the shelf, we find a photo dated 1970, which depicts Granny before mushrooms started growing out of her head, along with two other individuals, a grown woman with a baby. Whereas the already opened safe there is under the table contains some really interesting stuff. The first painting, dated 1972, simply depicts a plot of flowers. The second, from 73, depicts a glass of flowers. And you know, everything looks pretty normal, pretty mundane. But that is until we find another pieces of this puzzle that could help us piece all together. Because the third painting, dated in 1975, simply called Light, shows a white circular object with a grey trail coming from the sky. In itself, it isn't much, but it's when coupled with other clues such as the space dust mentioned by Piotrek and the falling star in the flashback that this picture makes a rather dooming but at the same time dumb question appear in our mind. Is it possible that this thing, this disease that is changing the wildlife and coping stuff, came from the sky? From the deep space? Or maybe a celestial body, at the moment of impact, awakened something that was buried in the depths of the earth? Something that perhaps was already known by who perished due to the unavoidable flow of time. I mean, or maybe it's just a fucking painting. I don't know. To be fair, I doubt her painting skills were the same since mushrooms grew out of her head. But if these are just paintings, and I'm overanalyzing everything, then why the others are fundamentally different from the first ones? The fourth painting, dated 1978, depicts yet another pot of flower, but this time they aren't of a vibrant violet, nor white and yellow, but rather of an intense red, while the other colors are cold, almost indistinguishable from the background. As for the last one, dated in 1979, well, it doesn't require my description. For now, we can safely say that after 1975, things went a bit shit. Bread plants and mushrooms started growing out of nowhere, and then the white goo we're all used to. Let's see if Old Man has something to say about one of our findings. Unfortunately, we can only show the photo of a family to him, but his reaction is staggering nonetheless.
Poor woman.
He points to the old woman in the photograph.
She was left alone when her daughter lost it entirely and ran off into the woods with her kids. The old lady was devastated. I don't know what became of her. The lads would say that even with her legs not working properly, she crawled into the woods, looking for her daughter. That was around the time when our fields were getting flooded. Even a healthy, strong lad would have had a hell of a task getting through all the water. Not to mention an old woman who could barely even move.
This is not a good prospect for Mushroom Granny. But she still has the boy, so let's retrieve him now that the villagers are all sleeping soundly. Once at Mushroom Granny's house, she gives us the key to the chamber where the boy is, but on one condition.
I will let him go, if he wishes to go with you.
But before picking him up, driven by our curiosity, we show to her the photo of a family. Of her family.
My child, she went into the woods and never came back. I will look for her, but my legs don't work how they used to.
Maybe the old lady made it. She does look alright, except a few mushrooms growing out of her head, but that could just be due to the exposition to the air or food. We saw how some individuals react differently, and maybe this theory of the camp copies is just pure fantasy, pure tomfoolery. And it really looks like that, until something unexpected happens. At first glance, we immediately see that the kid lost all of his protective gear, so there is a high probability that he's already infected. And as we approach him, he curls into a ball and starts reciting the same words over and over.
One little bear ate a bowl of soup. Then another bear came and there were two. 4 little bears made a sudden fall. Along came the fifth and took a little bowl.
If we put the boy on our shoulders to take him back, he starts screaming the same rhyme. I mean, maybe the boy is scared of our ugly gob. Or it could be that the forced isolation led him to being scared of everyone. Either way, now it doesn't matter, because Granny thinks that we got notorious intentions. So much so that despite her unworking legs, she tries to stop us.
Please, leave him be. He doesn't want to go. Can't you see?
We are now presented with two options. We can either leave the boy here or ignore the woman. And as much as I love seeing elderly people happy, this place, this malignant copy of the village, isn't the right place for a kid. But after we ignore her, everything goes terribly wrong. She once again screams,
"Leave him!"
The old lady tries to stand up, but I hear a sudden crack. It's the armchair, together with the old lady, falling to the ground. Her head smashes against the floor, shattering into pieces. Her thin arms, along with the chair, breaks like dry twigs. A colorless glue seeps from both her corpse and the chair. The boy falls silent. All I can hear are his little fists hitting my body and his faint cry. The old lady that was sitting in front of us wasn't the same that took off into the swamp looking for a daughter. It might have been similar in appearances, but it wasn't her. This wasn't even a person, not even the house this being was staying in. Here, everything is just a white, soft copy of something else, of something real. And looking back at it now, it does look strange. Why the roots went as far as reaching everything to the extent of surrounding the chair where the old lady was, without covering it or consuming it for nutrients. What if they just needed to touch it to sort of understand its composition and replicate it? We already saw some compelling evidence, the white goo man in the tunnel that even had a white mushroomy cross and a bullet, as if someone shot him. And before the exit, we even found the body of a man holding a real cross who perished due to a gunshot in the head. And the corpse is, just like the old lady house, surrounded by roots. And it doesn't end here, because if we follow this theory, then we can also explain other anomalies like the wolfman, the tree, and even the fucked up enemies we recently encountered. We all remember him, the man, the myth, the legend, Wolf Guy. He's perhaps the most unique character in the game, and for good reasons. His animal features are something that remain well impressed in the players during the first hour of the game, where all the vast majority of NPCs could be described as empty shells of human beings, or fucking annoying. He's the only one that shows animal features and a remarkably strong personality, but most importantly, he carries an AK-47, which ammo in the first half of the game can only be found in two places. One of the two tanks in the Silent Forest and the Hunter's house. I mean, if RNG is on your side, you can find it elsewhere, but these two places are the only ones where it will be 100% there.
We all remember the house due to it being absolutely full of chompers, but what we may have missed is the massive amount of small roots going everywhere, including the various stuffed animals and to the body in the bedroom, which is holding a silver wedding ring that could be the real version of the ring the Wolfman was carrying. Is it possible that, in the ingenuity brought by the complete strangeness or stupidity of the webcam, everything gets replicated in a weird mashup of what was laying around? The Wolfman got his animal features due to the presence of his various immoral trophies. The old lady was copied as a unique, strange being all in one with her chair and house due to the great amount of time spent netting caused by her inability. The tree is the unfortunate combination of the cursed roots touching the bodies of the people who die of starvation and some real tree nearby. Meanwhile, for the enemies, it just takes a stroll around the swamp to notice weird landmarks made up of circles, kinda like ritualistic places, exactly like the one in Dranido. But in here, we don't find just savages or Art Attack Neil doing funny things, but rather what could only be described as a deep knowledge of the wood's characteristics, as if these mindless people are connected to the horrors afflicting this area, as if they know what the plague wants. Because inside these circles we find tortured bodies of poor people that were so unfortunate or dumb to get game-ended by buffoons with sticks, only that they didn't go beaten up or tied to trees, but something far worse. We find people with cheeks stuffed with lizards, and even someone that was disfigured with crows. As for the trader, even Darkwood man himself noticed how scaringly similar he was to us, except for his clothes. But in his diary, he indeed mentioned a change of clothing at some point in time, so possibly Darkwood man came in contact with the woods before the story even started. However it went, we'll find that out shortly, because since this game was made by competent people, we don't have to go through an escort session, but we simply jump in the dialogue with Mom Elephant.
You brought back my child. Come here.
Marcinek walks toward the woman, nervously looking at his old sweater.
Look at you. Where's your mask? The gas tank from your gracious brother?
The woman grabs the boy's hand and disappears in the hallway.
His love protects us. It fills our lungs with clean air. And this is how you thank him, young man? Your childish behavior made him very, very angry. Now we will all have to apologize to him for your stupidity.
After a while, she comes back with an oxygen tank.
Take it. It's a tank for you. It will protect you from this devilish air, the devil's breath, and other evils lurking in this foul place. It's the only thing I have, and the only thing I can give you.
When she gave us the tank, we tried to open the valve at the top. But in the moment we turned the valve, she starts screaming at us.
Do not open the valve without need. You will only waste the clean air.
She even pushes our hand away from the valve before closing it hastily. But it doesn't matter, because when we opened the valve, the tank didn't release any air. And that's because, despite the lady's words and belief, this tank is empty. But for fuck's sake, they're all wearing masks and tanks. Someone must be filling it with air for them. And considering the reclusive mentality of this wretch, this someone must be nearby. Strangely, I'm not mistaken, since if we follow the flowery trail in the opposite direction from the house, we find an old shed. Unfortunately, its entrance is locked with a code. Unbeknown to it, though, I know where to find the solution, because if there's something that this game teaches us, is that the solution to our problems are always found nearby, or incredibly far away. Because even though we haven't found anything, we heard a lot of things. One little bear ate a bowl of soup, then another came and there were two. 4 little bear made a sudden paw, along came the fifth and took a big bow. And we're in, although it looks like the door was locked for a good reason. The air is dreadfully rancid and stuffy. The heavy, sweet smell of the flowers mixes with a stench of rot. And it doesn't take much to discover the source of such foul smell. At the center of the cottage lies the body of the elder elephant's son. Given the composition state, we can assume he's been like this for quite a while. On him, we find another oxygen tank that, just like ours, is empty. But what happened to him? The door was locked with a code that probably only he knew, and we can't see any trace of fight. So isn't that the boy, once he realized the tanks were empty, preferred to suffocate in his own equipment rather than breathing this devilish air? Probably yes,
But if this is the reason behind the boy's demise, and if we once again consider the isolation of the mother, we can safely say that she couldn't refill the tanks anywhere, which means that she and her sons are all infected. Just while we're turning our back on the unfortunate boy, we find on the table a small rotted book, which talks about a place we never saw nor heard about, a radio tower, which we'll visit tomorrow because guess what? It's getting late, fuck me, I hate this place. I'm not gonna lie, guys, I kinda lost track of the time here, but I'm starting to feel like we're getting really close to our destination. I can hear it, but I cannot find it. Where are you, little nugget? Oh, yes. You're right. We need to go to the junkyard because we have, yes, found a tank, but no way of filling it, except for the broken compressor in our hideout. But this in itself brings even more questions, because if the elephant son didn't have one, then he used to come here to fill his tank, and so we can deduce that he was somehow related to the army, which means that this thing of the air isn't bullshit! Which, good news for us, because it means that the radio tower mentioned in the note wasn't just used to transmit shitty techno music that was blasted at all volume by a crackhead at 3 AM. And so we could find something of great importance there. But this also means that this deep fear the elephants had of the air wasn't just caused by the family's perfect psychological condition. And I know that it's a scary idea. And unfortunately, it's also an idea that found its foundations in many things we saw. Like the oven, this weird amalgamation of things that keeps us safe by dispersing gas in the hideout. What if its function was to nerf the forest air, to make it at least breathable during the night, so the soldiers could enjoy a night of sleep without their hazard suit? Darkwood man himself covering his face, and even the doctor, someone that knew about the dangers of consuming food, but became a savage nonetheless. This is a race against something unfathomable, and most importantly, against time. And it's a race that we must win if we want to see and greet our loved one one more time. And for that very solid reason, let's grab a shower or two, cause we'll have to dig a lot. The junkyard location, as the vast majority of the places, can differ from gameplay to gameplay. And not only that, but also depending on our choices, what's inside. But let's not waste any more time. Once we enter the junkyard, our faces are enveloped by smoke. It would be reasonable to think that a fire started. But unfortunately, reason isn't something that is found in these woods, because this smoke is coming from something that we already saw, and even more sadly, from someone we already knew. At the center of the junkyard, shattered on the ground, we find a sort of rocket with a man inside. The game won't specify his name, but we already know that he is my love, my life and light, Piotrek. Also, did you brought 2 shovels? You better too, because here there are tons of spots that can be dug up, but only one has the spare parts for the compressor. Whoa, wait a second, Apple. That is not how you find the spare parts. Well, I know that I gotta go to the cottage and meet the snail, but I won't show it, because it ain't necessary. And if you wanna see it, just play the game. Okay, so the cottage is in the north part. As we start walking toward its entrance, we find a lot of snail people stuck to the walls. They all ask who we are and what we're doing. Seems a bit odd, but in a second it will all be clear. At the end of said road, we get to the cottage, but we can access it. We can't access it because there is a big-ass snail that is currently blocking the entrance while crashing the entire building. And to better understand what in the Christ is going on, we can force an access through the back of the big boy. Yeah, I know that I am speedrunning this. But fuck me, by now none of you are watching, man. Anyway, the internal organs of the animals are as wide as the Italian government. Just before our new friend's face, we find a hand growing out of the shell, in which a key is growing from out of the palm. I'm sad to say that that's the most normal thing that I saw in this playthrough, but the real nightmare comes when we discover that we can talk to this error of the woods. The creature has a skull dangling from the inside, but besides that, I'll say it's pretty normal given the game. After she insults us, you bitch, she implores us to free her because she can't do anything on her own, adding that if we free her, we can live in the cottage. So now we can do two things. One is to free her of any sort of pain that this physical realm would have brought to her, or we can actually set her free by finding this small shed which key was inside the snail. In the remaining of the building, we find the junkyard's map and a small road that leads to a small clearing where, coming out of the ground, there's a sort of cocoon. Once destroyed, we can go back to the snail and she informs us that by the next day, she'll be gone.
Beautiful! Now let's retrieve what we need and let's get back to the hideout, cause we have something that need to be fixed.
At least before we call it a day, we can explore the burned cottage, which location was discovered inside one of the thief's house. After getting to the other side of the underwater passage, we're greeted by 3 crosses. If the house in the village were of the 3 boys, this cottage then must have been of the person that cared about them, their father. As we get out of the pond, Darkwood man notices that some bodies were washed ashore. It's not given to know of who. After a little walk though, we find the aforementioned cottage, or rather, what remains of it. And what's interesting are a couple of photographs found inside. The first show a line of people walking from the village to an unknown location, but we aren't alone. After hearing the noise, we decide to investigate the source, discovering that the intruder is just a human spider which strangely blocked the exit with a wardrobe, presumably because I never hurt anyone in this game. After the first has been dealt with, 2 more storm the place. Poor bastards. They never had a chance against my pump-action shotgun. Anyway, the second picture is located in the northern part of the house, and it always depicts the village. Only that now, there isn't anyone walking around with a bag full of baggage, but only flames. Flames engulfing every house while a chopper flies in the sky. What has been captured in this photo is just a chopper for the evacuation. But maybe, just maybe, we even know the passengers on board. A lady and an infant. What a happy thought to call it a day. Go home! Time to check out on our favorite French. Damn, he really left the house. Cool. The cottage is full of rusty radio equipment, the vast majority of which is scattered all throughout the floor, and everything is covered in white goo dripped from the ceiling. In the furthest room of the house, we find another body completely covered in small roots. So why we came here and why am I even talking about this? Well, for 2 reasons. First, after we saw the body, the radio on the ground started acting up, pretty much like how it happened in our first night here. And second, is the diary found nearby the exit. Because, for a reason or another, this man heard signals from the radio tower, signals that, in his opinion, had a very specific meaning. And you say, Parappo, that's what radio towers are for. Yes, you're right, you are not mistaken. But the tower in question was shut down many years before our guy started receiving messages. It's a shame that, according to his diary, this man in these last days, due to the flood which made it impossible to have any other types of food, only ate snails and frogs. I mean, it's a shame he died, but at least now we know where the big-ass snail came from. After he went to sleep for the last time, the wolves replicated him with whatever was inside his stomach. But aside this nightmare fuel, I really think we need to check out this radio tower. It could be that the army is using it to send radio calls or regroup lost men. If you're like me, finding the radio tower won't be a problem. It's always located on the edge of the map, so to find it, you just have to explore the place while running along the borders. The entrance is well hidden in the wall of trees, as if someone or something cut down the passage. Nevertheless, the thick foliage makes it very hard to see anything. Luckily, after a short stroll, we see a fence and an enormous broken antenna. It is possible to enter inside the fence, but it gets nowhere because of a stack box. So without many alternatives, we continue to look around, discovering what seems to be an alternate path. As you can see, the place is dirty and inhospitable, basically a shithole. But even so, something chose it to make its home, while others, their tombs. As we start stepping into the deeper regions of the area, things similar to nests start to pop up on the ground, initially empty, then full of something we already met while looking for the doctor. Darkwood chickens. They are all sleeping, so maximum attention and silence are required, those or a submachine gun. Oh, and by the way, with that very sad sentence I said earlier about this place being someone's tomb, I wasn't referring the chicken carnage that you are currently seeing, but rather him. Poor snail guy. Amen. Just like Charred Man and Princess,
You will never be forgotten.
Now back to the chicken riddle place. This section of the game is one of the few, if not the only, that should be played stealthily. But to be fair, it is literally impossible. It would be actually doable if there were only the babies, but it's not the case since there are also the adults, and they don't do any damage by themselves, but the fucker are able to spot you from a mile of distance and then proceed to track your ass down like they're ERS agents. For them just to scream, literally catching the attention of everything around, even your deaf grandma, and then they die. So you literally run past everything without a single care in the world, or, shoot everything down. After a lot of unnecessary cruelty, we see a dilapidated building, which of course is extremely safe because a guy is currently having a nap in it. Not only him, but also a lot of young nuggets.
And listen, do not judge me for what you are currently saying, because my soul was slowly consumed by all the hours I spent in here.
But at least it made me somewhat aware of my surroundings, so much so that I know that behind this closed door, we find a page from someone else's diary. The diary itself is pretty old. The pages are all yellow and shit, but the content is still readable, and it was wrote by another soldier. It mentions the terrible conditions in which they lived, conditions that only got worse since the appearance of the tree in the village. Because since then, an increasing number of savages started popping around the redoubt, which is strange, very strange, because none of the local knows, or at least knew about army presence in the area, but, and I quote, once they lose it, the only thing that they seem to do is to put some mud on their face and go and sniff around the redouts, and in some cases, it's even been recorded of savages bashing their own heads against the walls of certain buildings. The note ends with, I don't think it's a coincidence. Well, Sherlock, thank you for your input. I really appreciate your effort. But don't let this page deceive you, because in this location there is a lot of stuff to see, even some that may look redundant. For example, this high on the ground here is just like all other we saw, and especially given the peculiarity of the location, it could pass unnoticed. But what this little fella does when disturbed is open a passage to an even more remote area of the radio tower. Once we enter this unseen territory, we immediately see a banshee, but he doesn't seem to notice us, and when we get closer, we understand why. This creature is crying his perished nugget. And it's not that he doesn't see us, he simply doesn't care. Well, buddy, you got a lot to cry for now. Just behind him, the walkable area continues alongside the broken aerial until we arrive in a sort of clearing. In this open space, we find a camp with sketches of the tunnel door on the ground. The ghostly sound of the wind is replaced by the familiar noise of a bell. Noise that seemed to come from the canopy covering 3 hand-dug tombs. In one of them we find yet another cowbell, but the tombs itself are empty. I remember finding another one of these down in the tunnel. It is possible that maybe with all the movement and vibration caused by the roots, the bodies of the 3 boys fell down when the ceiling of the tunnel collapsed. And then, when their father came here to retrieve them in order to bury them nearby their house, nearby the village where they spent their whole life, their bodies were already down in the dark tunnels. But if that's true, then it means that we're standing right on top of it, and maybe we'll find an entrance. Oh, and before I forget, here we find the dude that was filled with birds just chilling. So, if the roots reached him, creating the banshees, then it's very probable that the same roots may have touched the bodies of the 3 boys before they fell into the Shadowban, and by doing so, they gave birth to the trader that no one cares about because they never gifted any gasoline to anyone. Another thing worth of mentioning is the presence of some spare parts for the compressor. And I have 2 theories about this. The first one is they were used by the personnel stationed here to refuel their own tanks in order to use the hazmat suit. Second, this piece of machinery comes directly from our hideout, and it was taken by the 3 boys because they wanted to give it to their mother and brothers to fill their own tanks. Or maybe their intentions weren't so lovely after all, and they took it in order to force the personnel stationed there to breathe this accursed air. Or maybe to force them to evacuate in order to leave the entrance to the tunnel unguarded. Either way, now it's completely useless because we got our compressor up and going, and most importantly, a tank filled up with oxygen. But if my predictions are correct, I feel like we won't need it.
After another short walk between nests, we come to another structure. A savage is bashing his head against the reinforced door. Under his feet, a sea of skeletons. Apparently, many others knew about this place. Perhaps they heard weird signals on the radio like snail men and thought that the army was here to evacuate them as opposed to maybe get hold of the structure for internal communication. And sure, they may have known about the place, but they surely didn't know the code to get in. Yet something strange happens, because as we fail to open the door, Darkwood man says something. He says that he may remember the code. And in fact, if we wait some seconds, he'll say it out loud, as if he used to work here. Or maybe this place was used every time the army needed to get inside the woods to do army stuff. The inside of the building is overgrown with roots to the point where the floor is hardly visible. But in this chaos, one thing is clearly visible: an underground entrance. The entrance to the tunnels. Unlike the tunnel in Dry Meadow, this one seems well lit, if anything more maintained than the previous one. And in here we find a crate, which content once again enlightens that hope inside us, because inside we find a fully loaded military torch, which means free reputation, but also that its owner left it not long ago. And also a note with the last entry dated April 1987, just a few months, if not weeks ago. Two people came via the tunnel from the hideout near village 3C. They were attacked. The hideout near village 3C has been compromised. At least 12 locals have entered the hideout cellar, mostly mud-covered savages. 3 among them were wearing unusual clothing, weird rags. We lost 1 man. The door to the tunnels has been shut. None of the local managed to break through further. We're getting ready for evac. Evac successful. The door was locked with a code. Nearby the metal box, we see an open, reinforced door, probably left like that by the evacuated soldier to grant an escape way to their lost man, since he could have been the only one left here that knew the code. After locking the door on our back, the one in the front opens. We just got access to a new part of the tunnel, but one more obstacle lies in our way because the massive door leading to the exit is firmly locked and it won't budge. But that light of hope still shed the obscurity all around, allowing us to spot something on a wall. A switch. The switch is covered in white mushrooms, nothing that a good old Molotov won't solve. The explosion scatters a massive amount of spores all around, causing Darkwood men to pass out. Once we regain consciousness, the switch is gone and the door still locked. But a passage leading south has appeared. After entering a door, we find ourselves in a sort of hallway where there's a bag containing a military flashlight. After retrieving the object, our descent continues, and soon, the handmade corridor morphs into a cave. In one of the many chambers, we see the words, "Come to me," scratched all over the ground. In the second, we find a tree, similar to the one used to tie people to get them consumed by the woods. But in this one, there's no one, only fragments of bloodied cloth still attached to the trunk. We can still continue, but the cave-looking structure of the area starts to look, once again, man-made, because it seems that we reached the tunnel in Dry Meadow. Still walking without a single clue in the world, we arrive to a small room, a pretty familiar-looking room. The moment we enter, the way leading to the tunnels is replaced by a barricaded door. The only thing we can do is use the metal wires to make a lockpick, as well as the rags to have some bandages in case things get heated. With the lockpicks, we can get the small cabinets open. After picking the shovel up, we can break the door, discovering that we are currently inside Doc's house. From now on, please be extremely careful. Careful and fast, because shit is about to hit the fan. After accessing the space next to Doc's bedroom, we see Darkwood man laying on a bed. Probably that was the place where he was interrogated and injected with the red cam. Possibly this whole sequence, it's him remembering what happened that fatidic night. You see the crate, yeah? Don't touch it. Firstly, take the bandages and use it. Now you can open it and pick up the table leg inside. This will trigger an assault by some chompers. Since they came from outside, it means that they opened a way out for us. Way that we are currently using to get the fuck out from here. And yes, I told you to use the bandages because they will hit you, but at least you will continue to heal, increasing the number of hits that you can get before
sleeping. Once out of the window, I keep the table leg and run. Run without looking behind and enter the pig shed where there was the punk with the tomahawk haircut. And now continue to run until you get to the door. Now you're out, right? No, because since the devs were feeling particularly funny, this door will always lock halfway, so you need to give it a good old hit with your table leg to get it open. Made it first time? You're amazing, I don't know what to say, because I had to save scum like 6 times before realizing I had to use the bandages. Yeah, I don't know how to feel about this one. I only want to hold my hand there another time. So let's move.
Outside the house, we once again enter another cavey complex, but this time we don't see pavement or unusual flooring, only pulsating white cam. While running in this altered environment, we run past through the same places we've been before, both the bloody tree and the ground sketched room. After which we arrive into a massive space where a woman is praying. When we get close to the walls, it opens itself. Driven by fear rather than hope of escaping, we continue to run, arriving to another metallic door. Once through, thankfully we recognize the pavement and the overall structure. We reach the other side of the tunnel. On the ground, there's a conveniently placed shovel, and finally the door can be freed.
Once the door is open, we wake up. The switch is still on flame, so that means we were out for just a handful of seconds, right? I mean, if we just dreamed everything, then how did the door get open? And most importantly, how we got to the other side. Maybe it's better not to think about that, because if we explore the southern passage where we enter the cage system, we don't find a door or a hatch or anything like that. Rather, some sort of organic hole or mouth.
After what seems to be an infinite run, and thank goodness, we managed to find a set of stairs leading outside.
And we are out. The air, the dirt, everything feels different, but at the same time, pretty much the same. As if we walked for miles and miles just to advance a couple of centimeters. But hey, to be fair, the fact that 3 people fused together aren't trying to kill me is already a great improvement.
For a reason or another, all the trees have been cut down, except for some massive boy which roots forms massive bundles that goes deep into the ground.
But it's a small structure that perhaps reveals where we really are, because in the middle of the road we find a scarecrow, but instead of wearing old rags like a broken coat or a wacky-ass fedora, it's wearing an old biohazard suit.
Of course, we are already thinking the same thing, and understandably so, because until now we learned that Darkwood man changed his clothing to not be recognized, and that he was in the military, and that after an attack one soldier was lost. And after another little walk, we discover what truly happened. Not far from the scarecrow we see some trees. As usual, there are bodies tied to them, and they almost go completely absorbed. Except for one which doesn't have anyone tied to it. Only fragments of the biohazard suit attached to the trunk and a bloody yet broken rope on the ground.
All the pieces are coming into place, and while we walk, more and more information are added to our compendium. Even the soul itself here is telling us something, because if earlier it may have looked like someone cut down the trees, here there are too many on their side, as if something destroyed them. Perhaps something that crashed onto the land, and due to its immense speed and power, continued to slide, destroyed everything on its path.
And it's in this ocean of destruction and misery that we find another hideout. The one that was attacked by the savages. A body still lies on the ground. On him we find a broken radio, a rifle, and most importantly, the entire reason we're here in the first place. A jar containing a sample of white cam. Next to the perished soldier, we also find a savage who's carrying a rope. In the vicinity of the doubt, the soil is covered with giant holes. Every single one of them faces onto a stupidly massive bundles of roots, to which some machinery got connected. Probably the army was studying the abnormal growth of the forest, and inside the building itself, we see what they discovered, and it all comes from a single note.
The structure resembles a honeycomb. The surface of particular cells varies from 80 to as many as 360 square kilometers. The cells gradually divide into smaller ones. It can be assumed that with time the forest will achieve a homogeneous form. The trees grow with remarkable regularity, forming walls with the average thickness of 50 meters. The distance between trunks are never higher than 10 centimeters. According to preliminary analysis, only 15% of the total volume consists of actual trees, although this figure is hard to verify. This explains a lot. I mean, it explains absolutely nothing since we already knew that this white cam was replicating shit. But at least we sort of know why there are so many trees, and most importantly, why people are absorbed once they are tied to them, or if they stand still in the same spot for too much time. And that's because whatever the fuck is going on here, it's using roots to expand and spread its influence. That is how an entire hideout got replicated. These cursed tentacles are occupying every cubic centimeters of underground soil that's available in the Darkwood. And since they aren't normal roots, but a way of spreading the plague, absorb living things, or create new beings, they create a substrate that simply makes it impossible for water to flow underground. And that's also how entire areas got flooded. And even more singular, it's the organized structure of the woods and its walls. We may have found 99% of the answers, but we still have one question. What caused all of this?
We can only go south cause the tree block our way, so after unlocking a door we gain access to another section. This one leads directly to a road. In the deepest section we see some white goo people like statues. Probably the Darkwood's, almost like a bad joke, replicated the poor fella who perished while crossing the roads. And considering the famine ravaging around, their escape was driven by hunger, so probably they died due to starvation. After a little bit, we enter another zone. The vegetation is thick like the rest of the woods, leaving next to no light to dissolve the obscurity around us. Until, after too many steps, the foliage becomes thinner and thinner, letting more and more light enter, until the trees stop altogether, leaving room to electrical poles, our first sight of civilization. By running until our lungs collapse, we soon get to the first buildings and people. Look at this fella feeding the pigeons. Nearby our building, we see the neighbor chilling on a bench, so of course we say hi to her. Just a bit upward, we can even see some spillage from the sewers.
It uncannily resembles the black cam we saw a bit everywhere in the woods, so maybe the thing reached the city. Or perhaps our protagonist imagined his adventure because life was extremely boring, and so Darkwood man used thing he saw every day to fabricate dangers. I don't know how to feel about this one.
Either way, we're home. From the letterbox, we pick up our parents' letter and then we enter our apartment. But before doing anything, let's eat something. Ah man, I can feel the smell of food going everywhere in the home. Exactly like those pipes took the weird gases everywhere in the hideouts, but at least even the dog in the living room can enjoy it. Sure, good old Snurek has a familiar look. I really hope it wasn't everything in the head.
But no, it was not. Because I can feel every single hour I spent inside that cursed place, and now I simply want to get some sleep.
Hey friend, you're lasted out. Look for an exit beneath the floor.
In front of the letterboxes, we find a set of stairs going in the building's basement. And here is where things get strange. The underground area is composed by a small maze of hallways full of small storages. We can check the insides, most of them as full of garbages or broken down cabinets, but in one of them we notice a blood-chilling sight. Driven by a fear-induced curiosity, we start checking every crevice of the basement. In its eastern section, growing from the ground, there's a bunch of red pulsating mushrooms that we can even harvest.
What is going on? Did the roots, the plague, and all of its aberration reach the city? Maybe the insect-like parasite escaped the woods, contaminating some cattle, which is causing the mutation even here. What else hides behind this facade of safety?
Still looking for something that may tell us that after all we're gonna be safe, that this is gonna be fine, we go to the other side of the cellar or basement, whatever you wanna call it, where we see a room used to store various food, potatoes, and even a jar of jam of the same color of the mushrooms. Along with the free jam, we also find a radio, the exact model that we already saw in the swamp, tickling with the radio result in just static until something, or maybe someone, can be heard. He broke down. And along with it, even the lights. And if that wasn't enough, something is even making a lot of noise while attempting to get out of somewhere. But nothing happens. Time to get upstairs.
Clearly something wacky is going on. I mean, everyone in the lobby seems oblivious to the fact that there is accursed woods with unimaginable horrors a quarter of an hour away from their home. I mean, you got the drunk man on the ground, and I wonder who that may be. And of course, also the obnoxious tenant with the baby crying 24 hours a day. Listen, mate, I'm trying to tell a spooky story that may have taken place in the protagonist's head. Cut the shit out! Oh, shit. Ah, shit indeed, because inside this innocent-looking apartment, we don't see a mother nursing his baby or using him as an ashtray. I really don't fucking know. But instead, an alive fetus on the ground. Fuck me, I really need to pet my hamster. Let's go home now.
Except that something feels off. Dark formations are visibly protruding outside from under the furniture. With the help of a screwdriver from the kitchen, we remove parts of the floor, and with each one we notice where the pulsating roots are going. Under the bed. Fighting off the drowsiness with our remaining energies, we move the bed. And the sight isn't promising, because under our bed we find a massive hole. Hole that we must enter. And finally, at least, we really wake up. Nearby, where Darkwood man gained consciousness, we find all of his clothes, and further back, some sort of organic tunnels which entryway is now blocked.
For all this time, we thought that we were going home, that we were gonna be safe. Instead, everything we did, every step we taken, only brought us closer to our demise, to our consumption by the being. But somehow, we saw and understood all the small incongruences, finally seeing reality for what really is.
As we walk into what is a deep valley, our feet stomp old broken trees, pulsating roots and bodies, oceans of them. Some of them into the brink of passing, while others already did. But if there's something in common, is a calm smile, as if every single one of them found what they were searching the most, as if they found happiness. But of course, we know that this is not true. We know that these people are living into an illusion, a state of fictitious happiness caused by the exposition to the spore-riddled air. An exposition that caused the afflicted people to wander in search of something or someone, causing a loss of sanity until these folks either became savage and died of starvation, or they followed the call, wandering in the woods while looking for something. It may be a loved one, a brother, a daughter. But in the end, they all come here, in this valley, born from some unknown disaster that happened just a handful of years ago. Disaster that, besides pure destruction, brought something else on this earth. After a very long pilgrimage through tons of body and pulsating white roots, we see the cause of all the misery, sufferance, and death. In the deepest regions of the valley, a white, unshaped mass of goo twists and twitches, all meanwhile people around it frantically venerate the being. But what exactly is this thing? Is it an alien, a colony of microscopic mushrooms, or perhaps an ancient creature that was long buried in the earth's crust?
It doesn't matter, because what this thing is can only be described as a cancer. Something that idiotically replicates itself by wrongly mimicking everything available in the surrounding, slowly killing every living being it enters in contact with to fuel its own aberrant expansion. And in this storm of mysteries, One thing is sure, whatever is laying in front of us, it's not an adult. If anything, it's only at its primordial stage, and if given enough time, it will consume everything.
Unless we're able to do something first. On the ground, while holding a metallic object, we find someone called Maciek, the same man mentioned in the note from the old woods hideout. The one that escaped with a flamethrower, and that now is sleeping in front of us. After a bit of convincing, he lent us his toy.
And now... I don't have a flamethrower. And now, it's time for some sweet, sweet revenge. Burn, you coming thing! And remember, next time you wanna come to Earth, you gotta pay taxes! Sensing the deadly danger, the being drives everyone into a deadly frenzy. Darkwood men start to be attacked by thousands of people. Inevitably, due to both the flames and the injuries, we perish. But at least, we will drag that cosmic cancer in hell with us!
It's a heavy hit, learning that from this cursed woods there never was an exit to begin with, except death. But at least, thanks to the sacrifice of one Polish man, now billions of other humans will be able to freely live and enjoy nature and Poland. But in reality, the real Darkwood, this presence that isolates communities, driving people mad with poverty and hunger, isn't an unshaped alien being, but communism. Now, jokes aside, thanks, really, from the deepest part of my heart, thanks to everyone that took part in this video. I really cannot express with words how much I appreciate it. So, please, subscribe to them, the link will be in the description. And if you feel like I deserve it, also subscribe to me. And please, buy Darkwood, because acid wizards deserve your money. And goddammit, if you don't like playing horror games, they also released a free early version of their next game called Soccer Kids, so they got you covered, you have no excuses. Also, this part was supposed to be filmed in the abandoned radio station, but since I'm a mumbling moron, I wrongly deleted the footage and I was able only to recover a couple of videos, so if some of them are in lower quality, that is why. I will go now, but I have the Darkwood 19, so it really isn't the case. Also, I opened a Patreon, so if you appreciate my work and, you know, if you wanna contribute to whatever I might doing, the link will be down below. I'ma be honest with you, making video like this take me a lot of time, and, you know, it would be nice when I go into places to have the gasoline covered and stuff like that, but you know, if you want, it will be down below. And folks, I really don't know what to say. Thank you so much for watching, if you're still watching. Nothing, I'm gonna stop saying random things now. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Have a great, great Christmas. And please, now enjoy some stupid shit that I did in the location, and then you really should not absolutely do. I really hope. So in the end, and nothing, I'm gonna stop saying random things now. Really, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Ladies and gentlemen, we just found Tunnel 21.